Hello, and welcome back to CCP's channel here on Twitch. I'm CCP Antiquarian, and this is Alliance Tournament 15. Here at the desk with me today are the immaculately shaven Yin Tan and Rain Chocolate. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
As always, pleasure to be here.
Of course, we have a lot of exciting matches coming up, and Yin and Rain won't be responsible for taking care of all of the interesting things that you hear today. In the booth for the first part of today, before our break, will be CCP Fozzie and Moderator. Fozzie, Moderator, thank you for being with us.
Great to be here.
Glad to be here.
We have a number of amazing matches coming up as we winnow down the field from 8 teams to 3. First match of the day will commence in about 10 minutes, and that will be versus, Skill U versus the Brave Collective. Sure to be an interesting one. Followed by the Tuskers Co. versus Hydra Reloaded. Now, after those two matches, we'll have a short break. As teams reset, those winners will go immediately into additional matches. The winner of Skill versus Brave will face off against Northern Coalition Dot. That's set to kick off at 4 o'clock, 1600 Eve time. And the winner of the Tuskers Hydra match will face off against Pen is Out at 1620. This schedule and the brackets are all available online. You can, I think, click a link down below the Twitch video right now to find them. If not, hop over to eveonline.com where the bracket and the schedule is available for you to plan the rest of your day. Of course, those are not the only matches that we'll see, and not the only thing that I need to shout out to the home audience right now. After the second break of the day, we will see Hydra Reloaded. That is the correct pronunciation as far as I can tell. Gotten a few comments on not being able to say reloaded. It's not reloaded. Hydra Reloaded versus LAZERDUCKS Laser Ducks. That's not right. Those matches will be staggered against the winners of the matches that we see before the break there. So best of 3 series, Hydra versus Laserhawks, and a best of 3 series happening concurrently between the winner of the matches that we see in the middle of the day today. Now, this sounds a little complex. It's very clear in the brackets, and I think that we're all looking forward to, I think, all of these matches. This is bound to be a real brawl. Any comments before we get started here? Rain, Yin?
Yeah, so I believe the second match we have today, Tuskers versus Hydra, I know a lot of people have said that they've imagined that would be the finals, which we have tomorrow, actually. So I'm guessing that's going to be a pretty good match to watch.
Yin?
Yeah, we've got to hope that the teams here are much like the citizens of Reykjavik, ready for a marathon. There are so many matches that these people have got to go through, not only best of 3s, but you've also got to prepare for multiple opponents today. For example, the Skill U or Brave Collective are going to have to face another high-level opponent before, if they want to even make it out of this losers bracket, into the grand finals.
Now, incredible talent taking the field today. The commentators that we've flown out to Reykjavik, Iceland to comment on Alliance Tournament 15 had a chance to sit down earlier and talk a little bit about the teams that we're going to see. So for those of you watching at home, let's learn a little bit more about the Brave Collective.
Brave Collective, they are the Cinderella story of this Alliance tournament. Every time you see them flying, they're flying really well. It's not something you generally expect from a group that's comprised of mostly of like newer players. But you know, they've got this Alliance tournament thing down. This is the first time they've gone this far. They're unexpected. They're really adaptable with their setups. You know, you can try and ban them out, but you know what? They say, who cares? We can do this anyway. They're very interchangeable in their team comps, and that makes them strong. They know what they fly, and they fly it very well.
Brave Collective has added a number of new players to their team this year, which has really helped up the skill level of their team. Most notably Rid Miller, an excellent bomber pilot who managed to live for almost half the match against Spectre Fleet Alliance, despite being under fire from the entire enemy team. And Yukiko Kami, a key part of their strategy this year, as he is an excellent logistics pilot and able to keep his friends alive no matter what goes on.
In terms of rivalries, Brave haven't been in the Alliance tournament long enough to have any like Alliance tournament rivalries, but they've got some friendly rivalries of the teams that have been in the Alliance tournament. One of the best stories of the Alliance tournament actually is Brave and Tess, when they fought last week, they had a side bet between the two teams, and the winner of the match gets to rename the staging system, or the staging citadel, of the losing team. So Brave dumpster Test, and now Test have to live in a station that is named by Brave for a full week. So Brave newbies, they definitely didn't expect to get this far, and that's their main weakness. They didn't select the flagship, they probably don't have a lot of setups for the final weekend, but you know what, they're going to put their best foot forward anyways, and we'll see what they can do.
And there we have comments from Elise Randolph. Elise, neither in the booth nor at the desk for the first part of the day. He will be joining us later on this afternoon for the best of three matches, Vidra Reloaded and Laserhawks, and obviously the other match participants yet to be decided. Him talking a little bit about the Brave Collective there. They've certainly put in an amazing performance, but will not be alone when they take the field in just a few minutes here. They'll be going up against a team that's shown itself to be very capable, the Skill U team, or Edgelords, as you call them. Yeah, is that?
It's just a play on the name.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful play. Let's go to the video and learn a little bit more about Skill U.
So Skill Yourself is a team that was more or less made to compete in the Alliance tournament. Take some of the members from Broski North and some of the members of Pizza, and together they're forming a collective group in order to make an Alliance Tournament 15 run. We've seen a couple really key pilots from Skill Yourself that have allowed them to progress this far in the tournament, and who will have to continue to perform should Skill Yourself look to go further in the event. So far we've seen Warpout have excellent positional play in his Balgorn, using the officer webs and newts to gain offensive control and dictate the pace of matches for Skill Yourself. We've also seen Darkrai in his bombing do an excellent job at not just applying the torpedo damage from that bomber, but also use his bombs defensively to clear off waves of incoming drones.
One of the major highlights of the Skill Yourself performance in the Alliance tournament was actually the match against Bastion, where Darkrai performed a really well executed bombing run on incoming drones to protect his team. Another notable match is the fact that they beat Ronin, which are longtime titans of the Alliance tournament. Against Ronin, they actually initially lost their first match, but then they came up against them again in the elimination bracket, where they actually beat Ronin. So the fact that they not only lost to a titan within the Alliance tournament, but then they were able to prove themselves and beat them, shows that they're a force to be reckoned with.
Skill Yourself has really only brought one setup so far in this match, choosing to go Flag Balgorn, Battlecruiser Core, or just some variation of Battlecruiser Core. However, they do have a variety of other setups that they will use in order to progress their route in the lower bracket. However, other teams not having seen those setups won't know how to ban against it. So Skill Yourself has a couple rivals in this tournament. They have a new rivalry that they formed with the Ronin. The Ronin was a long-time tournament veteran team that knocked out Skill Yourself in the first round of the Alliance tournament, sending them into the lower bracket. Skill Yourself then climbed all the way back into the lower bracket, fought the Ronin again, and defeated them in a rematch. They've also got a long-time rivals, Rote Capel from the Tranquility server, which they've fought and skirmished against, and beat them successfully to get to where they're at now.
A little bit of background there on the teams that we're about to see face off in the first match of today. A reminder for those of you watching at home, you can go to react.eveonline.com to vote for who you support in the next match. Open that up in another tab and have a few clicks to let us know who you think is going to take it. We'll get some predictions from the team here on the desk in just a moment. Before we do, an announcement. One, CCB Falcon will be joining us here in the studio tomorrow. He'll be on stream during the finals, so if you'd like to hear a little bit from him, he's got some announcements to make, and he just wants to see all of your shining faces viewing through the camera. Of course, today we'll also have another special guest, CCB Guard, taking time out of his busy schedule to come down here and spend some time with the community. We have bans in for this match. We'll get fast predictions, and then we'll go immediately to the booth where the match is ready to begin. The bans coming down from Skill Yourself are the Balgorn, the Vexor Navy Issue, and the Curse. The bans coming from the Brave Collective are the Blackbird, the Rabisu, and the Oneros. Of course, both teams getting 3 bans here in this weekend of Alliance Tournament 15. Skill U going after that Balgorn, going after a drone-heavy ship, and Brave Collective, the Blackbird, the Rabisu, the Oneros, that logistics combo down at the end, and ECM with the Blackbird. Who do you guys think for the match?
Definitely Skill. Skill has brought a consistent comp. They also have a flagship, which I know Brave does not, so I'm going for Skill.
Yin?
Well, we've talked so much about how Brave is a Cinderella story. The clock has not yet struck midnight, and I don't think that carriage is going to turn into a pumpkin just yet.
Does the glass slipper fit? We'll find out as we go to the booth where CCP Fozzie and Moderator are ready to take us away with this match. 119 of Alliance Tournament 15, Skill U versus the Brave Collective.
Welcome, Space Friends. This is CCP Fozzie, joined by Moderator, and we have this upcoming match between Ingme, Skillu, and Brave Collective. We have a short delay to start, so we're going to have a little bit more time to talk about what's going on. One of the pilots disconnected and needs to get back in. But we have a really great match for you coming up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about these teams, Moderator?
Yeah, so Skillu has brought their flagship Balgorn that we see on screen, a pair of Fleet Hurricanes for links and that artillery damage, an Executor for logistics, Harbinger, Vigilant, pair of Arbitrators, a Hyena, and a Purifier. Whereas Brave Collective have brought the comp that we've seen in the past and the one that actually knocked them to the lower bracket by Tuskers. They've brought a double autocannon Sleipnir, a Basilisk for Logi, 2 Helas, a Ferox, a pair of Moas, and Manticores.
Yeah, so this setup from Skill is one that we've seen them kind of block Brave from being able to bring themselves, because Skill is bringing the flagship Balgorn, which dodges bans, but they banned out the Balgorn themselves, so they know that they can't face one against Brave. A very clever tactic on the banning from them. And the Warpins, really solid for Skill here. They have moved most of their team in at 50 with the Balgorn up closer to screen, and that Balgorn is between the bulk of their fleet and the high damage ships for Brave.
Yeah, so Warp Out, the flagship pilot for Team Skill, should have no trouble grabbing onto Yukiko Kami or whatever he desires. They have the perfect warp-in for that. However, that does mean for the Brave Collective side that they're going to have a lot of difficulty actually getting in and screening the Skill U team before they get onto the core ships of Brave Collective.
So in this match, we've seen both the Rabasu and the Neros banned out, 2 very common, popular logistic ships. But then the 2 teams have brought Executor and Basilisk, which are actually a little bit less popular. What do you think about those 2 choices?
So the Basilisk is maybe wanting a bit more beefy tank, something that could have a bit more sustain and has more repair power as compared to a Scimitar. The Executor, it costs 5 less points than a Guardian. One of the concerns that Fozzie and I had on the desk is that maybe with the Balgorn and Guardian being the only Tech 2 Logi open, that could make Team Skill weak to, say, a targeted Amar Jam. But we'll have to see how that plays out. 4 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, so what we're going to see immediately is the Brave team is going to try to get some damage, I believe, onto that Executor. They're not going to try to break through the Balgorn, but we'll see. And the entire Skill team is going to move across the field to try to get damage onto these backline for Brave Collective.
So as we expected, the Sleipnirs have gotten webbed and already a Manticore deleted. So that will be the power of the Fleet Hurricanes artillery syncing up and just deleting Matthew Fintana in the Manticore.
So what you're seeing on the field there is the blue team, Brave Collective, just getting charged by all of the battlecruisers for Skill.
Speaking of things that are getting charged, Yukiko Kami has been webbed down by what appears to be either the Hyena or the Flag Balgorn. Yukiko Kami already down into armor. He's gone through about...
He is repping, though.
He's used about half of his ASB charges and 2 Manticores down and about half of the charges from the Basilisk, who has completely been shut out. Excellent trade so far by Team Skill U.
Yeah, so the Balgorn for Skill has webbed up the Sleipnirs and the Helas for Brave, which means that they can't get the damage onto the ships they'd really prefer to be hitting. They would love to be hitting the Executor, they'd love to be hitting those Arbitrators, the Hyena, but they're stuck beside the Balgorn. And so what they've done is just shoot at the Balgorn while they're there. So we're going to see how strong the tank on this flagship is. Even if Skill wins this match, losing the Balgorn would be a really big loss for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, they're going to want to have that Balgorn, especially going up against NC, should they win this match. It appears, having killed Yukiko Kami, that they're poised to do.
Yeah, this is a really strong start for Skill. They've got Yukiko down. They've got both the Manticores, which can provide a lot of damage to these large ships, especially the Balgorn. And now they're just going to work through these Helas, which is another great targeting call.
Yeah, Phoenix Ashenborn, having gotten his hardeners neuted off and webbed down by the Balgorn, meant that he was an easy target for the Battlecruiser and Vigilant core that Skill U has. Look at that attack and control bar from Team Skill-U. Not even applying half of it, but still doing an excellent job at primarying targets, including Cold Fuzz, the current Gila from Brave Collective.
Yeah, the Skill team has brought, of course, arbitrators with tracking disruptors, potentially knowing that whatever they're going to face was going to likely be very turret heavy. It works really well on these Sleipnirs, reducing the fall off range, preventing them from being able to hit these targets that are farther away while they've got them webbed down. And that's adding to that attack bar, or that control bar, of course, that's all the way off the screen.
Yeah, just as soon as Cold Fuzz goes down, we've already got Briala in the Ferox being down into low armor, now Hull being tracking disrupted, painted and webbed, not going anywhere except to the grave as Skill-U kills another ship.
So Brave, of course, has to be really happy with how far they made in this tournament. This has been a real Cinderella story. They've done amazingly well compared to expectations. Coming in, not even having a flagship selected, obviously suggested that they probably didn't think they're going to make it all that far. But really surprised a lot of people, and making it this far is a huge achievement. I think at the end of the day, being a bit limited on the types of setups they can bring made them a bit predictable.
Yeah, so we've seen them bring more or less the same core, and eventually Team Skill-U, they brought that Arbitrator pair, which does excellent against a Rail Ferox, which is what Brave had. And whether you're artillery or autocannon, it really hurts the Sleipnir that's got that fall-off bonus. It makes it that much less effective. And Team Skill-U showing a really solid execution of this composition. Having said that, we've seen this kind of battle cruiser core with Flagbell plenty from them. I'd like to see a little bit more diversity in their setup pool, which they'll definitely need going forward. But right now, having an excellent showing, looking to completely shut out Brave Collective in a 100-0 victory, should Brave not kill anything in the next 6 minutes.
Yeah, so Skill-U is now going to be going up against Northern Coalition, who just got knocked down into the elimination bracket last weekend by Vidra in a really great series. And that, I think, is going to be the toughest challenge for them yet. Northern Coalition, a team that did very well last year, has been really strong this year, and has shown a lot of variety in setups.
Yeah, very much so. So Northern Coalition came in a total 4th place last year, and you know, if they can beat Team Skill, they'll be poised to continue that run. Unfortunately, John Lee Wang, the team captain for Brave Collective, now being killed. Good Fight's already in local. Interesting to note that we do have the CSM Summit actually right here in CCP studio, immediately preceding the Alliance tournament. So Yukiko Kami came early, and he's currently in the CCP VR lounge, actually flying for Brave Collective, or was until he died.
Yeah, so this is going to be the end of his run, but of course he was one of the pilots that was especially lauded for his performance this tournament. Brave has been taking real advantage of his piloting skill. He's survived a lot longer in a lot of matches than a normal Logic pilot would have through very skilled piloting. And he, I think, is one of the many people on this Brave team that has a lot of pride in how far they've gotten.
Yeah, and that will be another victory for Team 20, as the CSM Pi of our hearts, Yukiko Kami's team, is unfortunately eliminated from the bracket, and plenty of that from the desk, who we'll now send it to.
ABA bringing Hugin, perhaps maybe they're a little bit less confident, whereas Hard Knocks very, very happy to bring 2 Hyenas, so they're confident in their piloting.
This program is rated MA. It contains adult themes, coarse language, sexual references, and violence.
Oh my god, the match has already started. The frigates are going in for tackle.
Slice actually bought the flagship rocker for this fight, and the Exhumers already applying the lasers to the spotter main.
The Ventures have got Scram on the spotter main.
It looks like Slice is gonna win this match.
It's taking heavy damage.
And we're back. Brave Collective failing against Skill-U, who washes the dishes and does the mopping instead of Cinderella. They really cleaned up. A good performance though, and as Maud mentioned, Yukiko Kami is here in the building upstairs. Weeping, but probably happy tears. A tremendous performance for the tournament overall, and really they did a great job. I think to Brave, we bid you adieu. You can bravely see yourself out. Joining us on the desk, for those of you at home, you may have noticed the smallest commentator, CSB Guard, who's coming. Guard, what did you think about that match?
Oh man, that was it was a hard match to watch because I mean, you know, Yukiko is here in Iceland. We flew him in early to fight so that, you know, he wouldn't have any potential conflicts and super stressed for tomorrow because he's flying in for the summit. So now we're gonna have to book him a flight out and fly him back home just immediately. Yeah. Sorry, Yukiko.
Just pop him in and out real quick. The summit can wait. We're gonna come back to Guard in a second to talk a little bit more about some things that he cares about. But let's talk about some things that you guys care about. What did we see Skill doing there that made that fight so interesting?
So they immediately started off with killing the Manticores, which are obviously frigate ships. They do a lot of damage, but they're not very tanky and therefore harder to keep alive. So they immediately got them off the field, and then they went for the logistics. So the logistics of that composition really keeps, obviously, the whole team alive. So without it, they're running on limited time, and with Skill keeping their Executor alive, allowed them to really just kind of steamroll and snowball that fight in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, outside of just the raw matchup there, you've got to really praise Skill U's execution with Captu and Dexter, especially making crucial defensive tackle plays in the Vigilant and Hyena, making sure that nothing really reached their back line. You saw from that beautiful angle that our cameraman were able to put up that nothing was getting past that wall.
Certainly put up a formidable defense, one that Brave was not able to surmount. Brave will go home, but again, a tremendous performance from them, and shout out to my friend Kigali, who I'm sure was watching with his nails just being bitten right off. Sorry, Kag. But before we go to the next match, we've got the Tuskers Co. and Hydra Reloaded coming up, and as before, our commentators had a chance to sit down and talk a little bit about the teams. We'll give you a quick introduction to the Tuskers. Or that video maybe not ready to go up just yet. Before we do
The Tuskers Company on Tranquility is an alliance that primarily does solo and small gang PvP, and Lowsec, and also stages out of the C2 wormhole to roam nullsec and wormhole space. One of the benefits of the Tuskers Company is that they're one of the most mechanically and positionally skilled teams that remain in this event. In particular, Suleiman Shoa, the team captain, and Latronicus, the logistics pilot, have showed excellent command and understanding of positional awareness throughout the event.
Tuskers have done unsurprisingly well in this Alliance tournament. They're the defending champions of Alliance Tournament 15, and while they have only lost one match, they have still powered their way through the elimination bracket of AT15.
In Alliance Tournament 12, they came in 4th place, having a good showing for a relatively new team. In Alliance Tournament 13, they built upon that success, coming in a tie for 3rd place overall. In Alliance Tournament 14, after all was said and done, they came in 1st place. And this year, they're looking to remove the asterisk and the doubt. Can they reclaim the title, or was last year just a fluke?
Some weaknesses of Tuskers is that they become very predictable, especially in the drafting phase, where it could be really obvious of what the comps they're bringing against more experienced teams.
Tuskers is a relatively new team to the Alliance Tournament scene, at least for teams that have been making deep runs. Tuskers is looking to throw off the old gods in Pandemic Legion, who are no longer in the event, and to knock out Hydra Reloaded, who they face in the beginning of next week.
And there we have the video from Tuskers, but they will not take the field alone. They will face off against Hydra Reloaded, and again, our commentators have had a few things to say about them.
The Hydra Reloaded team, one of the clowniest teams that you'll ever be able to see in the Alliance tournament. Nick and Noiser and their theory crafting core, they come up with really off-the-wall setups that most teams don't really know what to expect and what to do with. We saw this a lot in the EVT Championship Series when this entire core of the team played under the name Sudden Otters. When they picked and when they banned ships, no one knew how to deal with them, and they set their own meta. They're doing that a lot this year as well. They have, some setups that you see other teams using, but most of the times they're coming up with something that nobody's really thought of and nobody's really practiced against.
One of the key pilots in their run this year has been Randolph Sykes, an elite tier frigate pilot who's been able to do everything from tackle down a Balgorn without dying to simply bomb off all of the drones in the world in a Manticore. Vidra Reloaded takes its name as a parody of Hydra Reloaded, a team which has proven to be very strong in any tournament they've taken part in. In fact, Vidra actually has a long-standing friendly rivalry with Hydra Reloaded, being practice partners with that team. As such, I'd expect any fight between the two to be hotly contested and very interesting to watch.
The Vidra team does have a bit of a weakness though. In the best of 3 series against NC Dot, we saw them become a little bit too predictable. They're also very aggressive when they fly. They really want to get a lead and snowball from it. And so their positioning is always aggressive. So that means if one pilot makes a mistake, or something slips out of the control, or they're confronted with a situation they didn't practice against or didn't have a good decision making for, they can just fall behind and lose that match. So their aggression really makes them vulnerable.
Yeah.
Hydra Reloaded isn't really a team that exists on Tranquility as a normal alliance like some of the other teams that we have in the AT. This team this year is more of a combination of the old Warlords of the Deep roster and the Kemmel Empire core from Alliance Tournament 13-12 in New Eden Open. Together, they formed a super team after taking a year off to try to take the crown once again. So we've seen excellent play out of both the logistics pilots Miyamoto Yuriki and Nemesdril V on Hydra Reloaded. As well, we've also seen good captaining and control of the team in Hard SP. Hydra is a team that's been known to have some issues tilting, and he's been keeping them rather level-headed.
Besides the logistics and their captain, obviously you have Big Daddy Bluemon on the team, and with his deep pockets, he's able to actually use a lot of funding to give the Hydra team AT ships that they can use in the tournament. The most notable match for Hydra was actually their first match against Tempest, where they lost. And most people would think that Hydra couldn't be beaten, but they showed that they could. However, Hydra can use that to their advantage, or some people may think that could be a weakness, and then they're able to counteract that with their strength and execution.
So one of the weaknesses of Hydra Reloaded is that they really got cocky and didn't take their first round opponent seriously. That cost them a first round trip down to the losers bracket, and they've been having to grind out all the way from there on since. If they can bring it back and score a win in the Alliance tournament, they'll have done doing so having played the most matches possible.
Hydra has a couple of weak points. One of the most notable would be the fact that they're more than likely to get on tilt. So if a match isn't going their way, sometimes the pilots can kind of get tunnel visioned within the fight, and then it just almost fail-scades and not in their favor. Some of the strengths of Hydra is their skilled pilots, their deep theory crafting, as well as the fact that they have a huge cache of AT ships and experience in the Alliance tournament.
Hydra's biggest rival in this top 8 series is going to be their best-of-1 elimination match against Tuskers. If they can knock out Tuskers, they have a very good shot of tearing through the lower bracket and making it to the grand finals and possibly winning the entire event against their practice partners and longtime friends, Vidra.
And there you have a little bit about Vidra and a little bit about Hydra. Some extra information for you. Never claim that CCP doesn't give from itself. That's bonus. Of course, it was an intended prank to make sure you're paying attention and keeping track of these names. Hydra Reloaded and Vidra Reloaded are so phonetically non-dissimilar. It's easy to get caught up in the swing of things. Sorry. Parched. We are going to get ready for this next match coming up here. Skill U versus the Northern Coalition. Skill... Is that not?
No, it's Tuskers versus
Hydra. It's Tuskers. It's Hydra versus Vidra. Is that what it is? It's Tuskers versus Hydra Reloaded. We're just about ready to go. The teams are taking the field right now. Whew. It's a hell of a day already. We have the bands in for this match, and I'll bring them up on the screen and make it a lot easier to talk about everything that's happening. The Tuskers Co. have banned out the Guardian, the Rabisu, and the Oneros. Hydra Reloaded have banned the Blackbird, the Vulture, and the Brutix Navy Issue. Those bands, first set targeting that logistics once more, and we see that happening again and again. People really afraid of other people being able to protect themselves. Before we go to the guys in the booth, a quick prediction from everyone at the desk. Yin, go.
Tuskers go.
Hydra.
Hydra.
Hydrating, indeed.
Yes,
we will
hydrating,
go
yeah.
to CCP Fozzie and moderator in the booth for the match Tuskers Co. versus Hydra Reloaded here at Alliance Tournament 15.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exhilarating match of the Alliance Tournament between Hydra Reloaded and Tuskers Company. I am a very nervous, not sad, not glad moderator. Tuskers Company have brought their flagship Balgorn, a pair of Fleet Hurricanes, Navy Harbinger, an Executor, a Prophecy, the Alliance Tournament 8, I believe, prize ship, the Malice, a pair of Vexers, a Purifier, whereas Hydra Reloaded have
8 battlecruisers.
Yeah.
This is a really exciting match here. This Hydra team is a no Logi, 8 battlecruiser, 2 cruiser team. Lots of damage. These are all long-range gun fit. The match is counting down now. Hydra warped all in at 0. Tuskers brought in the Balgorn and their Malice to tackle up in the front and the rest further behind. And now we're going to see the match start. I don't know which way this is going to go. This is a crazy setup from Hydra. I'm fascinated to see how it works out. Already tackle and some newts onto that Navy Harb, and we'll see how much damage applies. The Purifier already off the field.
Okay, to the surprise of literally no one, Hydra wanted to get rid of the bomber to get that damage off the field. Tuskers is spreading their newts across the Navy Harbingers, trying to try to cap out their guns. That Executor, though, is taking a pounding. Hard SP also is taking a significant amount of damage, and if that Executor dies, there will be nothing to stay.
So one thing that happened so quickly that we missed it, the entire Hydra team used the micro jump drive and beacon in the middle of the arena, jumped behind the Tuskers team, got on the Executor and burned him down. That's how they got within range of that Executor, and he couldn't pull range. That is an amazing tactic. Hydra are sitting now behind where the Tuskers entered the field.
Yeah, it's a very nervous moderator. Hydra is now burning in to try to get tackle and damage on the Tuskers backline. The Fleet Hurricane of Skylar Hawk is taking a significant amount of damage. However, Nebula is down into low armor, and Hard SP is now scrammed once again.
So the Navy Harbs from Hydra actually got stuck towards the middle of the arena. They got tackled before they could jump, but the rest of the team is out behind. So we're going to see some trades of battlecruisers now. Navy Harb of Nebula down. Skylar Hawk and his Fleet Hurricane is about to drop too. This is the part of the match where the two teams trade, but the thing is, Hydra just has a lot more ships to trade before they start running out of DPS.
Yeah, so Tuskers Company no longer has any sort of logistics on the Malice, and they're losing a Navy Harbinger really quickly. I'm a very nervous moderator. Tuskers need to be spreading that newt pressure across more than just one ship. If they can shut off the guns of the Harbinger and the Brutix that do require a capacitor to run, they'll be in a good spot.
All right.
They'll also be in a great spot if they can kill...
Hart in his Ferox is down. We're going to see the Navy Harb of Hoodie Mafia taking the next damage from Tuskers. I don't think any of the other battlecruisers for Hydra are actually within range of that Balgorn's newts at the moment, because they all jumped to the back line. So they've only got the Fleet Hurricane, or the Navy Harb, sorry, within range. So they're going to burn him down now. But he's trading basically for Hoodie Mafia's Navy Harb.
Yeah, Hydra Reloaded, as much as it hurts to say, is in a much better position than Tuskers Company. Tuskers, if they drop, they're going to have more or less their Balgorn for damage. It is a gun bell. They have a Prophecy, a Malice, and a Vexer. Whereas Hydra, they've got 5 battlecruisers and 2 Vexers. I don't see a way for Tuskers to come back.
So this Hydra team with almost all damage drones. Again, we've been seeing a lot of Logi drone setups. That is the kind of thing you might expect to see with all these battlecruisers, but they just went full damage. This is an all-in team. Tons of damage. You see that huge attack bar. And now they've already burned down a Vexer. They're going for a second Vexer now. Perfect choice. Again, Prophecy and Malice. Tough nuts to crack. The Balgorn has that flagship tank. Hydra in a really, really strong position here.
Hydra more or less going for the victory. They've killed off the Vexer. The Balgorn is scrammed and webbed. The Malice is scrammed, and it's eating a significant amount of damage rather quickly. That is going to be an Alliance Tournament ship worth well over 100 billion. It's now dead, Malice down, and
wow, that is
along with it,
Tuskers
Company's chances of going any further in the bracket. This is an elimination match. With this victory, good fights in local already.
Yes.
This is a wonky setup we saw out of Hydra, but it worked for them rather excellently.
It did an amazing job, and this is a setup that Hydra kind of got forced into. They weren't the ones that chose to have a no Logi or no Tech 2 Logi team here. It was the Tuskers band, the Guardian Rabasir Neros, that blocked off the Tech 2 Logi. As we see that flagship Balgorn dropping low here, and that's going to go off the field as well. Oneva, there he goes, explodes. And only Jaxley's Prophecy left for the Tuskers. Hydra is going to take the time to loot that wreck and then kill him off.
Yeah, so I don't know if we actually have any filters that can go to black and white, but Tuskers Company out of the tournament after Jaxley, Hydra has looted the Balgorn. So they will have what are almost certainly Tobias Webbs, Jaxley, now dropping into Hull. Hydra taking a convincing lead off of a very interesting setup that the desk will have plenty to discuss. And with that, I am Sad Moderator signing out.
NC Dot got whacked again, losing 3 Titans and 5 super carriers. NC Dot versus Snuffbox. I hope Snuffbox wins this.
Come on, Snuff, bring your A game. Let's take down NC.
Going up against Soilaris Chitonium.
Oh, you didn't know?
I want to call them.
They're better known as Slice.
Slice. Oh, it's Slice. Didn't realise that.
Hydra Reloaded knocks out Alliance Tournament 14 champions, the Tuskers Co. in that elimination match. Moderator incredibly depressed. Really, this isn't a winner for commentators. If you're looking to curse your team, coming out to Iceland seems like a good way to do it. An amazing match, incredible play, jumping the entire team off of the central beacon to the back lines to take out that Logi. Rain, would you like to get us started? I don't know what to say.
I mean, do you want me to talk about the MJD moves or the fact that they brought so many battle cruisers that no matter how many you killed, they still had more damage than Tuskers?
Incredible damage.
Yeah, that's I believe we saw it from Vidra last weekend. Hydra brought it, mimicked it, pulled it off really well. They even almost sort of banned against it because they banned actually the Brutix Navy issue, but they were still able to bring the ships needed and won. So.
They defied the voting. A reminder that if you're watching at home and you'd like to vote on the matches as they occur, you can do that at react.eveonline.com. You saw the voting results there at the top of the screen. And of course, feel free to tweet about your opinions or feelings on the matches. And if you hashtag with ATXV, those tweets will show up on the stream as well. Yin Tan, what would you be tweeting? Were you watching at home right now? What do we see on that amazing match?
Well, if I was moderator, what I'd be doing right now is just pinging everyone and being like, who do you have in charge of bans? What were you doing? You saw this comp. You know NC Dot were unable to theorycraft a way to beat it. And that's been always one of their strengths. Why aren't you banning out this comp? It's undefeated so far. It's had 3 showings. Every single time it has won handily, and it didn't look under a threat from any traditional composition that we've seen.
Now, how is that possible? It is just damage. There's no logistics. There's no control coming out there. Like what? No dedicated control. What is it? Just beats?
It's straight up in your face, all out aggro. It's taking advantage of the range. It's taking advantage of the MJDs to limit the normal downsides that you'd have with that kind of core. Mm-hmm. You can just MJD wherever you need to be. You can kill that Logi, and teams just rely on that so heavily.
Now, do you have a cunning name for this comp?
I've just called it Battlecruiser All-In, or I heard someone calling it the Octodad comp because it had 8 battlecruisers.
8 dads. It's glorious. The Octodad undefeated at Alliance Tournament 15 as we move forward. Now, of course, we can talk about that match all day if we need to. We can talk about the matches coming up, but as long as we have him here, why don't we have a few words with CCP Guard? Guard, once again, thank you for being with us. I can tell you're having a good time.
Awesome to be here. My heart rate went up quite a bit for that match. It was very tense. Awesome match. There's so many things happening, cool things. I want to talk a little bit about this new thing that we're doing. There's 2 things actually that I want to talk about that each of these guys are involved in. We have streamers on our channel, on the CCP channel, just streaming directly on our channel. We've hosted people before, and that's all well and good, but technically speaking, doesn't drive as much traffic or get the same results. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to shine a better spotlight on our own streamers and build the streaming community up even further than it's done, mostly by itself up until now. And we're also trying to build up the CCP channel as a sort of a place to hang out and and where people can like we don't just have like shows and events here and there. We have something going on every day, preferably.
Now we tried this out earlier this week, throughout the week, where we had streamers hosted off of the CCP channel, or streamers directly on the CCP channel. How'd it go?
It went really well. This first week was a little nerve-wracking because I didn't know exactly how everything would work out at the beginning, and you know, everybody's been great. Everybody's in. We have a Discord channel for the streamers that are in the program right now. We're looking to add more, inviting more people that want to be streaming with us to the channel, and then you know, because everybody's there, just hanging out, talking, helping each other out with all kinds of technical solutions, tips and tricks, and. It's been really great. It's sort of like I've learned a lot from our streamers, and you know, I see them picking up things from each other, and it's really good. We also, a benefit of this is that we build a much stronger relationship with our streamer community,
who are wonderful. Incidentally,
I'm always amazed. I'm amazed at what they did. I worked with many of them for. Like I've worked with them on some events before, like Twitch versus Eve, helping with some stuff there. The Eve-a-thon that happened recently, which was amazing, collected a lot of money for charity, and you're just seeing people come together like that, and how people throw their sort of in-game differences aside to do common cool things for Eve is awesome.
Now, if someone is interested in streaming on the CCP channel on Twitch, do they contact you, or do we reach out to them?
We've reached out to some people to start this off, and we went with people who have like experience streaming, who've sort of built up their own thing already, and have been active recently. So there are some people that have like done some amazing streaming, but have been absent for a little while. So we haven't contacted them. But if they want to come back, they can definitely contact us. And anybody else who has some experience streaming and has sort of worked on their own channel a little bit first can contact us at share@eveonline.com and just put streaming on the CCP channel in the subject, and just talk to us. Tell us about your channel, what you want to do on our channel, and sort of what you like to do in game and all that stuff, and we'll just take a look and work it out.
Excellent. CCP working it out live. That's unusual.
Yeah, I know.
Don't worry, it'll be fine. Coming up after the break. Oh, do we have more?
Yes,
more. Coming up before the break. More from CCP Guard here at the desk at Alliance Tournament 15. Guard, tell us more.
Because I like to talk. We are having a CSM summit this week where we'll do a lot of talking. Then Jintan is going to be there, of course, and Yukiko apparently, since he's already here.
I think that the judge is also already flown.
Judge is already here, and others are on their way to the airport. They're flying out tomorrow, and we'll have everybody here on Monday, and it's going to be a really good summit. We have a lot to talk about for what's happening in the winter and all kinds of ideas and abstract concepts and picking each other's brains back and forth.
Is it too late for players to contact their CSM reps to have their voices included in this summit?
What would you say, Jintan?
Always come and talk to us. We're happy to listen to all of your concerns. Yeah.
There you go. If you know your CSM rep and you have a concern, do get in touch with them. If you don't know how to get in touch with them, message them in-game or tweet.
In-game Twitter, Slack, Discord. We have everything you could possibly want.
Everything you could possibly want available from the CSM. Make your voices heard. Participate. Make your voices heard here on the stream as well by voting for the teams you think are going to succeed in the matches coming up. You can do that at react.eveonline.com before each match. Also, feel free to tweet us #ATXV. You can comment on Guard's wonderful presentation of information here. You can mention the fact that sometimes people who need water just aren't getting it. It's unacceptable. A few shouts before we go to the before I back out of the shot. Before we go to the break here, one. I've got to give a shout to Jay McLean. He announced with us at FanFest this year. He's made a couple appearances at EVE Vegas, I think, at least one. He works with a military veterans community in EVE and other games as well called The Best of Us. You can contact them in the in-game channel Best of Us. It's interesting, and I don't know if it measures with other people, but Jay McLean and I differ on a lot of things. We have a lot of disparate opinions, and I still think he's a great guy, and I still love the work that he does. And I hope that if you're interested in Best of Us and knowing what they do, get in touch with him, give him a shout on that in-game channel, and get involved.
Really good dude. I recommend his talk from eVegas last year. It's on our YouTube channel.
Yep. So, Jay, there you go. I done it. Another shout to the brave logistics pilot, NCSM Councilman Yukiko Kami, who, as we said, flew in here and from a sequestered room high aloft in the tower of CCP, played his match and was destroyed almost immediately. But he did a great job, and on his way here, he managed to pick me up a couple bottles of Fritz Cola, and I'm not trying to advertise for Fritz Cola, but it's amazing. So shout out to Yukiko and the whole CSM who are flying in right now. You guys do wonderful work, and we're glad to have you here. I can't believe you're staying around for another week. It's wonderful. The match coming up will be the winner of Skill U versus Brave. That is Skill U going up against Northern Coalition NC. And we've seen these teams perform admirably throughout the course of this Alliance tournament. Do we have any ideas about what we're going to see from them in this upcoming match? Skill U has been very limited in the number of comps that they've brought, very focused on a particular style of play. Would you not say?
I'd say they've focused on battle cruisers, but not to the detriment, really. At this point...
Well, no, they've certainly not been performing to their own detriment.
Definitely not performing to their own detriment, but I mean, so many of the good comps we've seen so far, or at least later on in the tournament, have been based around these battle cruiser cores, and Skill U have used them to great effect, and they've also shown a very key ability to use bombers very well, so I would be interested to see if they bring that. That could be something that could challenge this Octodad composition, perhaps.
And is that what you're expecting to see from Northern Coalition?
I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they did get their ass handed to them by it in their series against Vidra, but more likely we're going to see something kind of a bit more NC.y, you know, some fiends, some chameleons.
Oof. Some expensive bling. Rain, any thoughts on the match coming up?
So I'm aligned with Jin. I think we'll see similar setup from Skill. But for Northern Coalition, I do know, I mean, they got third last year, so they're more into the meta, more into the theory crafting. So I think we could see a variety. It would be the 8 battle cruisers. It could be something, like you said, the Chameleon. We could just see maybe the Mirror setup where they also bring a Balgor and a logistics ships for battle cruisers in the support wing. So it's pretty much a free-for-all with NC compared to Skill.
Now, Gard, I know you haven't been catching all of the matches as they've occurred. You're a very busy man, and obviously there's a lot going on behind the scenes here. Do you have a pick for the match that we're going to see? We're not going to have you on desk right before it launches. So.
Yeah, so if I'm wrong, there's I won't have to, be here to face the shame. Yeah. But I'm going to...
Make him face the shame on Twitter.
Yeah, you can always do that. So I'm just going to guess that Northern Coalition is going to take it, for reasons and, Skill just fought, so I think NC.
Yeah, Skill, again, they did just have one fight. They'll have another one here coming up versus Northern Coalition, and we'll also see Hydra Reloaded versus Pen is Out. Those matches set to commence at 1600 Eve time after a short break here on the CCP channel on Twitch. And we're just about ready to leave you. Any final words for the viewers at home, Gard?
Just keep the friendship shiny and... be good. Be nice to each other.
Be nice to each other as you engage in brutal combat here at Alliance Tournament 15. Welcome back to Alliance Tournament 15. We're about to go into match 121, Skill U versus NC. Our commentators had a chance to talk a little bit about the NC team, and we'll go to that video now.
Northern Coalition, they are a medium-sized alliance on TQ. They're always punching above their weight, mostly because of their allegiance to Pandemic Legion and their blue status with them. And also they have a lot of supers and they know how to use capitals really well. In the Alliance tournament, they're fairly new. They didn't have a very good Alliance tournament team until DHB Wildcat, who came over from Hydra Reloaded, ended up joining, and Vince Draken, the executor of NC. Gave DHB Wildcat the keys and a blank check and said, just build me an Alliance tournament team. And that is exactly what he's done. DHB Wildcat has come with a lot of institutional knowledge, really deep core of theory crafting, experience, and just Alliance tournament chutzpah of some sort. And that took them very far last year out of nowhere. and they became one of the favorites this year. And as we see, they're in the final weekend, so they did something right.
NC has had many highlights during this AT, most notable of which come in the forms of their series against Vidra Reloaded, where they managed to both kill and lose Rabisu and also lose a Chameleon, making them the #1 losers of uniques so far in this tournament. Still, one of the strengths of NC is going to be not only the theory crafting brought by DHB Wildcat, but also their stable of AT ships, as it's known they have a huge cache from which to pull from in order to complete their setups. One of the weaknesses NC is going to face, however, is the fact that their individual piloting skill is below average for this top 8, and the only real saving grace there has been their theory crafting and execution as a team.
In terms of key pilots, NC really have a key pilot in DHB Wildcat, their captain, who they always put in a core ship. You'll see him in the flagship that he flies so well. And, the rest of the team is sort of mechanical. You can put anyone in, anyone out, and their setups are all predicated on, or their success is all predicated on their setups more than their piloting skill. So there aren't really a lot of standout names, maybe some standout posters, but not any standout names in terms of key pilots.
Elise Randolph telling us a little bit about NC smug even in his own defeat. We will go to that match, Skill U versus Northern Coalition. The bans are coming in. They're here right now. Skill banning out the Vindicator, the Curse, and the Rabisu. Northern Coalition have banned the Blackbird, the Gila, and the Brutix Navy issue. With those bans in mind, before we throw to the booth where CCP Fozzie and moderator will take this away, let's get a quick prediction. Rain?
NC
Good.
Capcu's posting is bad, but his AT flying is good. I'm going with Skill U.
Skill NC It's a split desk, and we will go to the booth here at Alliance Tournament 15 for match 121.
Welcome back, everyone. This is CCP Fozzie, joined by moderator and CCP Leggy Bro, and we've got Skill U versus Northern Coalition. A really great match coming up. That is a flagship Balgorn you see on your screen, piloted by DHB Wildcat, and NC has brought a pretty standard flagship Navy BC comp. It's flagship Balgorn, Guardian, double Hurricane Fleet issue, Harbinger Navy, Vigilant, Vexor, double Purifier, and Hound.
Yeah, so Team Skill has opted to bring in Oneros, a pair of Fleet Hurricanes, an AV Harbinger, 2 of the Tech 1 Harbinger, 2 Vigilance, and 2 Purifier.
So NC has brought in the flagship Balgorn right in at 0 and the rest of the team further back. The entire Skill U team is at range, as you would like to do with these battle cruisers. And we are now 10 seconds away from the start of the match. It's going to be really interesting to see which Logi dies first. That's going to be a really key part of this match, I think.
Yeah, Northern Coalition definitely has that Balgorn in their favor that can reach out and web something. Coming in at 0 kilometers means that your opposition can no longer be any further than 50 kilometers. So far, we're seeing a lot of tracking disruption from the mid-slots of what are most likely going to be possibly Vigilance or Fleet Canes. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Fleet Canes, those are being the first tracking disruption primaries, trying to prevent any sort of alpha from coming onto these bombers, which are being pre-repped by NC side.
So we got tackle already onto the Skill U Oneros coming from that Balgorn. That's a huge advantage for Northern Coalition here, because they've already got the Oneros down into half armor, while their own Guardian is just now getting tackled.
Yeah, well played by the side of DHB Wildcat, getting webs on top of that Oneros. Lee Jensen struggling to maintain this tank, the rest of the Northern Coalition Corps cruising across the field to get onto him. Meanwhile, Ingmi, the Team Skill, has done the exact same thing to Kralar Darkon in his Guardian. We see that there's a bomb going across the field that has just deleted all of the repair drones on top of the NC side, but Team Skill loses their logistics first.
Yeah, so the Krakor's Guardian is going down next. We are going to see a logistics trade here, but if NC can manage to take down a battlecruiser or get one deep before, well, now the Guardian is down. And really, it's still pretty close here. This match could go either way.
Yeah, I'm really liking the call of Northern Coalition getting rid of the Purifier of Darkrai and Team Skill trying to kill off some of the hounds. We see target painters onto Zordon. Both teams wanting to get rid of the potential bomb damage to clear rep drones, as well as the utility that you get from the torpedo. So good primaries by each side.
Yeah, so both of the bombers are now down from the Skill U side. Meanwhile, Vigilant is dropping for Northern Coalition. We do see, because there was some bomb damage being applied to both sides, everyone's lost a bit of armor from the Skill U team, and we've got 3 ships with a pretty sizable amount of armor lost for NC Dot.
Yeah, look at the HP of Warp Out in the Fleet Cane, already down into low armor. The Vigilant of BAP 1811 just got blapped himself. And right now, these torpedo bombers on NC Dot side doing absolute work.
Yeah, the longer these things can survive, the more damage they're going to be applying across this match. Hound now down, but still 2 Purifiers up. And these Fleet Canes and Navy Harb for Skill U are dropping really quickly. Second Purifier down. This is, I think, a stronger position for NC Dot, although ships are dying really, really quickly on both sides.
So look at the Northern Coalition defense bar. That's the total amount of what would be armor in this case, given their composition's HP, compared to this Team Skill. Team Skill's got about half of it, and look at that NC Dot control bar. They're getting the newts from that officer Balgorn on top of the Vigilance and the Harbinger that will try to shut off the guns and resistances. We're seeing that work to greatest effect as the Harbinger of Malcor Tisani is dropped.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Sharp in the Navy Harb is dropping as well. We're seeing trades back and forth, but these trades are just not going fast enough for Skill U. They're right about tied on damage, but there's still that big flagship Balgorn left on Northern Coalition. And if we end up with a flagship Balgorn plus maybe 1 or 2 ships versus a couple on the other side, that flagship is going to be really hard to chew through.
Yeah, it'll be even harder to chew through now that the last Navy Harbinger for Team Skill has dropped, leaving them with only a Harbinger and 2 Vigilants. Northern Coalition comfortably has that flag Balgorn still untouched. However, Team Skill does have those 90% Vigilant webs on top of Ajax, their current primary, but NC Dot still has another Fleet Cane. They still have a Vexor who's happy to kite at range with drones, and a Purifier who's been untouched so far.
Yeah, damage is now dropped low enough on the Skill U team that these one flight of rep drones that's sitting on Ajax and the Fleet Hurricane are really keeping him alive a lot longer than he would have otherwise. They're just barely breaking through the rep drone repair, and Vigilant now dropping for Skill U. This is going to be a pretty clear victory, I think, for Northern Coalition in a really bloody match.
Yeah, this was really bloody to see, but crucially, since DHB Wildcat did survive and wasn't damaged, they will have that flagship in the next round, which they will definitely want going up in that series. So with this, Northern Coalition will actually be in the money. They're guaranteed to come in no worse than 4th place. That's a total of 3 of the new cruiser and bomber in the as a prize for this year.
Yeah, this is a big step, making sure that you get those prize ships, and of course continuing to be in the running for the grand finals. NC Dot, a team that is now, of all the teams that came in last year, they're the top one that's left. They came in 4th last year. 1, 2, and 3 from last year are already eliminated, as we just saw the defending champion Tuskers get eliminated, and they're going to be representing the returners in the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, so Northern Coalition, as soon as Hatsumi Kobayashi, old Pandemic Legion pilot finally does drop down, Northern Coalition will take it. They'll be playing against the winner of, I believe it'll be Hydra and Panazout, and the desk will have plenty to say about that one.
We've got the Kings of Losec with Project Mayhem.
And NC Dot is in the money. They will finish at least in the top 4, if I'm reading that correctly. They'll go up against the winner of the match we're about to see, Hydra versus Penn is out later on this afternoon in best of 3. The other 2 teams surrounding out the top 4, Vidra Reloaded and Laserhawks. So they've got themselves at least as far as they went last year, and an impressive bit of combat that made that happen. It looked like a real slugfest, starting off with a few key bomb runs, a few interesting maneuvers, some target calling. What did we see happening on the field, Yin?
Yeah, we saw really good metagame choices there from NC Dot, bringing those tracking disruptors, knowing that Team Skill have really relied upon that Battlecruiser core, and they haven't shown any other strategies. And they also just, they brought the same level of bomber skill that we've seen from Skill U up until this point. It was an amazing match to watch just from the bombers' perspectives.
Rain?
No, I completely agree. Skill haven't really shown any depth in their setups, so I thought it was pretty easy for NC Dot to actually not only bring almost a mirror matchup, but being able to ban against it and then picking E-War to go against it.
Now, we mentioned not seeing a lot of depth, not seeing a lot of variety so much from Skill. Do they have the potential to come back next year, bring some of that talented piloting back, but maybe put a little bit more theorycraft behind their comps?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. They obviously they flew a very similar comp throughout the whole Alliance tournament, and they made it top 8. So it's clearly more than just. I just want to say just the setup. It's obviously their piloting. They've shown very well how to use bombers for more than just torpedo frigates. So I think them coming back next year, they could easily.
In terms of money lost here in the top 6, I'd say they're in the lower end of that scale.
Yeah,
they really haven't lost any serious bling. They've put forward a great team every time they've taken the field, and we look forward to seeing them next year. Of course, right now we're looking forward to the next match coming up. That match will be Hydra versus Penn is out. Hydra having just defeated the Tuskers. Penn is out, not having had a fight yet today. They're coming in fresh, and they're
ready to wrap things up.
Ready to see how they face off. Before we go, we do have a stat screen up from the match we just watched, that slugfest between Northern Coalition Dot and Skill U. Take a look there on your screen and see the damage dealt by each team, the damage taken, and the total ISK lost. Of course, that number not very small for Skill U, but smaller than it could be. Had they brought some more. I'd say limited edition ships or any of that tournament bling.
If they had gotten their hands on, say, a Rabisu, we do know that they love the Oneirus Executor, so losing a Rabisu obviously would be very detrimental to their wallet, but they also still have their flagship Balgorn. So just because they're out of the tournament, that doesn't mean they lost a flagship Balgorn, so if they had Toby Webbs or anything of significant bling on that, they could easily just sell it back on the market.
Just for the viewers at home, Toby Webbs?
Yeah, so those are the officer webs on the officer webs that most people like to use on the Balgorn because they can reach up to 70 kilometers with the Balgorn bonus. Being officer webs are obviously a lot harder to find. I believe they generally go for about 40 billion ISK, and then around Alliance tournament time, they obviously skyrocket in price because people are getting flagships, everyone wants one. And we've seen plenty of Balgorns die without them, and then the ones that do are hitting the kill board pretty hard.
You get a lot of people playing EVE that never see any purple modules at all. They just don't interface with the game on that level. Yeah. But it's interesting how much it can have an impact in this kind of limited environment where we do offer just one opportunity for you to make use of them on that flagship. And I mean, some teams don't even capitalize on it at all. There are teams like Brave who don't even submit a flagship, and they never have access to that during the course of the tournament, which may be related to the fact that they're newer players.
It could. It's obviously a huge investment because if you having a flagship, you don't want to just bring everything limited to the normal rules of the AT, so it's like T2 modules. You want to be able to try and bling it out, but at the same time, if you don't think you're going to make it very far, or you don't want to invest not only player time, but then player ISK, because not a lot of these teams have alliances like Pandemic Legion to back up the, I want to say the ships or whatnot. They don't have that huge alliance wallet, so it's just the players investing their time and their money. So not a lot of people can do that.
Of course, Pandemic Legion proving that money doesn't make a team necessarily. Doing their best. And I'm sure at least Randolph is happy that I'm sitting at this desk right now. Coming up, Hydra versus Pen is Out, match 122. That's set to kick off in about 10 minutes here as the teams get ready and take care of their setups. The commentators had a chance earlier to talk a little bit about Pen is Out. Why don't we learn from you all as we go to the video?
Pen is Out is the alliance for rapid withdrawal. They're a Gallente Faction Warfare Corp, and they really like the small gang PvP. If you've ever been near Tama or Sujirento or any of these places, you've undoubtedly seen one of their pilots. And that's the skill they bring to this alliance tournament, their individual piloting skill. This is actually their first year in the alliance tournament, and not only the first year for their team, but also for a lot of the players. In fact, all of the players, they've only done some small tournaments before here and there, nothing really major. So this is their first showing, and the fact that they got to the final 8 is something that nobody really suspected. I mean, we're saying Brave is the Cinderella team, but a Rapid Withdrawal and the Pen is Out guys are also a Cinderella story themselves.
One of Pen is Out's strengths this year has really been its leadership. They've been able to use teams of very different 10 pilots to great effect, with the only real pivotal point of that being Nate Atoll, that logistics pilot and captain. This really shows the level of leadership that Nate's been able to bring to this team, and the amount of strategy that he's been able to impart to his members has been significant. One of the weaknesses Pen is Out is going to have is the fact that they really don't have the same level of theory crafting that most of the top 8 teams have. They've only shown us 3 setups, and of those, they've only looked really competent on one, which is their Basilisk-based Tinker. And that's something that's fairly easy to ban out, especially as they lack an Atana, which they could use in place of the Basilisk.
So in terms of their highlight matches, they've beaten a lot of good teams. They beat Ghost Legion, a team that a lot of pundits really thought were going to go very far. In fact, most people thought Ghost Legion were going to get to the last 8. But nope, Pen is Out knocked them out, and props to them. They've shown one really strong setup in their Tinker, but nobody else is really flying a Tinker like them, and they're proving time and time again that they cannot be underestimated.
And we're back here at Alliance Tournament 15 as we get ready for match 122, Hydra versus Pen is Out, who we just heard a little bit about. Of course, based on what you've seen so far from these teams, we do invite you to head over to react.eveonline.com, vote for who you think is going to win the match we're about to see, and please continue to vote as we move through our 2 best-of-3 series after the break. Those series commencing at 1700 Eve time. One of them already determined. That will be Vidra Reloaded versus LAZERHAWKS. Laserhawks, those matches at 17, 1740, and 1820 if we go to a third match. And the second best of 3 will feature NC Dot versus the winner of the match we're about to see between Hydra and Pen is Out. So, of course, hop online, vote for who you think is going to win, and let us know how you feel on Twitter. Hashtag ATXV will have your tweets showing up on stream, which is interesting and fun. And I think that we've all had a wonderful time with that, and we're glad that the voices of our players can be heard and transmitted through the CCP Twitch channel. It's lovely and wonderful. So, going into this match, what do we think? Actually, we have bans. We have bans for you guys if you'd like to hear what's going on. In the only match, this elimination match between Hydra and Pen is Out, Hydra have banned out the Blackbird, the Armageddon, and the Curse. And Pen is Out have banned the Gila, the Sleipnir, and the Oneros. Some work going in there. Some metagaming maybe. Are they thinking about what teams have brought before? With those bans in mind, who wants to kick us off on a little bit of discussion and prediction?
Yeah, I'll kick us off with something very interesting that we see from Hydra's ban strategy here. What they've done is they've neglected to ban the Basilisk, which we've typically seen as the primary ban focused against Pen is Out. They've been using it a lot. They were using that composition, the Basilisk-based Tinker that we talked about in that video you just saw, to great effect going on here. Do you want to talk a little bit about what they've banned as well and how that interplays with it?
For Pen is Out, yeah. So they banned the Heal and the Sleipnir, which we've seen used many times, generally a rush comp or potentially like a more kiting comp. But then they've also banned the Oneros, showing that they obviously don't want... The Oneros is probably the safest and strongest logistics cruiser, but also the cheapest. So maybe they want to see a Rabisu, or maybe they're trying to spread their bans, because obviously Hydra has brought multiple comps, and so trying to focus on which comp you don't want to see. And so it seems like they've kind of spread it out a little more.
Appropriate discussion, appropriate assessment of the bans. Of course, I'm not getting a vote there. Who do you think wins this match, Rain?
Hydra.
Hydra takes it. That's one. Yin?
I would like to continue my streak of getting every single prediction wrong and go for Pen is Out.
What does that mean? Does that mean you think that Hydra is going to win, so you're saying Pen? Or does that... What, like, you gotta... I'm not... There's no desk metagame. Tell me who you think will win.
I just did.
He's voted for Pen. I've made a mark on my paper with this anachronistic device. Before we kick to the booth where CCP Fozzie and moderator are ready to take off commentary on this match, 122 of Alliance Tournament 15, a quick shout out to our friends over at r/Eve. That's http://www.reddit.com/r/Eve. They have a wonderful little community there where you can express your opinions without having to tweet to us. Also, there's a Discord up, and I occasionally show up and get yelled at on it. So feel free to check that out. And we will go to the booth where CCP Fozzie and moderator are ready for this match. Hydra versus Pen is Out on Alliance Tournament 15.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Alliance Tournament. I am moderator, joined by none other than CCP Fozzie. Hydra Reloaded have brought the what we're now calling the Octodad setup, bringing 2 Navy Harbingers, 2 regular Harbingers, 2 Brutix, a Ferox, another Ferox, and 2 Vexers.
Meanwhile, Pen is Out have brought their now very traditional Tinker with the Navy Scorpion, Basilisk, Myrmidon, Ferox, Jackdaw, Harpy, Double Manticore, and Nemesis. This is a setup that has a lot of tank, but it's coming up against this Hydra team with a huge amount of damage. My guess is Hydra's just going to blow right through the tank on Pen is Out, but we'll have to see. If Pen is Out can manage to tank the Basilisk for a while, then they might have a chance, because Navy Scorpions do present a pretty big challenge for battlecruisers.
So, one thing this could possibly be is that Pen is Out, we know, doesn't have the biggest wallet. Mm-hmm. They live in faction warfare. You can make good money there, but maybe not enough to have an Atana, which might be what they want. It's very possible that what we're seeing here is a Navy Scorpion Basilisk Tinker setup, which, if they can sustain long enough on the Basilisk to whittle down the Hydra core with what are probably cruise missiles from those Scorpions that can hit out anywhere in the arena.
They are indeed cruise missiles.
They will do very well to do so. Mm-hmm. Hydra's keys to this match is they want to kill those Manticores. They want to kill the Nemesis, get any sort of bombs off the field, and of course the torpedo damage, which applies perfectly to a battlecruiser. So
there's one disconnect, so we're a little bit slow off the gate starting. We'll let you know once the match is about to begin. If you're Hydra in this match, moderator, do you use the micro jump generators right at the beginning?
So that depends on what roughly your opening strategy is. So we see that we have a staggered warp range. Most of the Pen is Out core have warped in at a total of 50 kilometers. However, their Jackdaw has warped in at 30, and the Harpy has come in at about 15 kilometers, actually choosing a manual warp-in range. So that's very deliberate out of Pen is Out. So if you're Hydra, you want to interdict the Pen is Out support core that would prevent you from micro jump driving and getting your core separated from each other.
Yeah, so they very well may end up with a situation similar to what they face against Huskers, where they end up getting split up. But with this setup, actually, you're pretty okay with getting split up often. You'll probably lose those ships, but you've always got more. I guess that's the real advantage of the Octodad setup, which I'm sure Leggy Bro here is really happy to be seeing.
Yeah, it's definitely a setup worthy of the Hydra namesake. If you cut off one of these battlecruisers, there's still 7 more that you have to worry about. And another thing that Fozzie was alluding to with the grid separation is you don't have a logistics in this setup. You're going all in on damage. You can see that attack bar is absolutely massive, nearly towards the edge of the screen. So if you get separated from another ship, you don't care if you don't get reps because there aren't any reps.
This, as we see on the screen there, we have Satonia, CSM member who's going to be up with us for the CSM Summit beginning of next week, doing a bit of piloting. In this match, we've seen him. Of course, he's a very well-known streamer, really well-known for flying a lot of small ships, but in this case, bringing a big old battle cruiser in the Harbinger. So it'll be great to watch how he does. We're still waiting for these disconnected pilot to get back in the game. In the meantime, a reminder of react.eveonline.com, which is allowing you to vote on which team you think is going to win. At the moment, we see 66, 67 votes for Hydra, 51 for Pen is Out. And we can see that updating live as people make decisions. Because we're not exactly sure how long we're going to be taking before the match begins, what we're going to do is cut to a quick ad break, and we'll be bringing it back to us right after that.
Flip, I got bars like a Martians by speed mines. Testified, 12K is when you decide to hack the engines and override. Overheat on my overdrive. You so surprised, no joke. I set shits on fire like the blunts I smoke.
Hey, we're back at the desk here at Alliance Tournament 15. We are taking a little bit of time to make sure that our technical difficulties that are getting pilots on the grid are ironed out. In the meantime, there's intense discussion here at the desk about what teams have brought and what we expect to be saying. Some of that we're not going to talk about as we're live, just in the event that the guys have more to say when we do go back to the booth. Some quick announcements. A special shout out to Twitter user Icarus, who has wonderful taste in music, and a shout out to Alti2, whose taste in music is not as good. Still not bad, just not as good. A mention to any of you in Colorado, tomorrow during the finals, there will be an EVE meet going on to watch the end of this Alliance Tournament 15 broadcast on CCP on Twitch at the Blake Street Tavern. And someone can shout out in the Twitch chat if I'm incorrect about that. I think I've got it right. I used to spend a little bit of time in Colorado, or at least in Denver, and occasionally Vail, and maybe once or twice in Breck. You guys snowboard?
No.
This is not important, chat. Coming up after the break today, we will have, as we mentioned before, best of 3 matches moving through the final 4 of the Alliance Tournament 15, starting off with Vidra Reloaded versus Laserhawks, Lazerhawks. Those matches at 1700, 1740, and 1820 EVE time. That will be a best of 3, so if a winner is decisively concluded in the second match, the third match at 1820 will not occur. The winner of the match we're about to see, which is being set up just now, Hydra versus Pen is Out, will face off against NC Dot, the Northern Coalition team. Those matches happening at 1720, 1800, and 1840 EVE time. Again, a best of 3, where if we have a winner after 2 matches, we will not go all the way to time there, and that third match will be, our broadcast rather, will be truncated. We're not going to sit here and talk at you for an extra half hour. Unless you guys aren't going to be here at all. In the second half of the day, of course, our announcers here, Rain and Yintan, will not be sitting at the desk next to me. They will move over to the booth to provide commentary on the matches that happen as a moderator comes over to the desk, and Elise Randolph of Pandemic Legion will come in and sit here and be abused face to face, which is always a delight. I cannot tell you how much joy I get from
berating them for their failures.
I wasn't going to say berating. That seems upbraiding, perhaps, maybe.
Abrading?
Lightly ribbing.
Doesn't abrading mean like removing something? You're going to remove them from reality with your banter?
No, upbraiding is where you criticize or chastise someone for improper behavior. Seems to be Thesaurus here at the desk, offering a little bit of education for our younger viewers at home, or here in the booth. He's shaved. He's shaved. He shaved his little chin. That's just for you guys at home. The teams are still having a bit of difficulty. Always kind of a trial to get this going on, and of course it's not something that we prepare for. Well, it's something we prepare for. It's something that we certainly hope doesn't occur. But when you're running a tournament like this, where all of the components and all of the players are not in a single geographic location, you do have to be aware of what's going on, and you do have to make sure that everyone has a fair chance. And the last thing we want to do is kick off this match without making sure that all of that is as even as it can be.
We could talk somewhat about the comps that have been brought, actually, because it might be a nice idea to get some of the basics of that out the way before we send it back to the commentators.
I think as the youngest member of the desk, I'm going to let you steer for a little bit.
Okay. So, Tinkers.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about what Tinkers are?
We should definitely explain what Tinkers are.
So how a Tinker works is you have a couple of larger ships, in this case, Navy Scorpions, and what they will do is they will have large energy transfers fitted to them, and then they can feed capacitor to the logistics. Traditionally, this was a Tech 3 logistics, but those are banned this year due to potential balance concerns. Mm-hmm. In this case, Basilisk. And what that means is that Basilisk will be able to perma-run an extra-large shield booster. We've seen a mixture, actually, of extra-large ASBs and extra-large shield boosters being used for reasons I'm not entirely sure of, but I'm sure someone better at theory crafting will be able to explain that. And effectively, what that does is it allows you to have this huge tank on your logistics, something approaching 3,000, maybe even 4,000 DPS, and that can just let you live through the absolute pounding that most comps can give. And going up against that, we've got something that is almost designed to give a comp a very good pounding itself in that Octodad composition. Do you want to bring us through what that's intended to do, Rain, at all? Or?
Yeah, so the Octodad, as you're so fondly calling it, is the 8 battle cruisers and no logistics, and then the last 2 ships are generally heavy tackle, so Punishers. I believe here we saw Vexors. And generally what that's meant to do is just dish out DPS. There's not a lot of control. There's not a lot of tank, obviously, without logistics ships. And so what ends up happening is these 8 battle cruisers are able to project very far. They can have links on them. And then they're pretty much able to just maneuver around the map or the arena and shoot anything and everything. And so what happens is, because there's no logistics, obviously they're eventually going to die, compared to, say, the Tinker, which is kind of made to almost run indefinitely. But even though they die, there's still more battle cruisers there. So a team has to be able to pick away battle cruisers without taking a lot of damage, which is very, very difficult to do. And I don't think we've seen this comp lose yet during this Alliance tournament.
No, this is its 4th run, and every time it has gone out so far, it has come away with a victory. So something that's going to be very interesting to see is simply, can they defend that logistics? Can they do anything to keep it alive? Because if they can't, that Tinker is going to collapse and everything is going to die. Do we have any update on the status of the match?
We've not gotten anything yet thus far. Coming from the booth, we're seeing still some waiting, still some positioning happening, and the referees have been involved to make sure that the match is not imbalanced as a result of this delay. No progress has been made just yet.
We can go back to talking about the ABCs then, because I do love this composition. It's so interesting. It's one of those something that we saw a lot during the early starts of the tournament, where we saw all of these drone comps. We started to see this concept of threat density start to take real priority within team comp design. What you needed to do is you needed to be able to say, okay, so if my logistics is just instantly deleted from the game, from the server, get out of here, can I still bring enough threats that are resilient enough to kill off the enemy team? Do I have enough damage to just grind out against drone ships? And some team comps did, some team comps didn't. So it's going to be interesting to see going into, especially this final weekend, how people adapt to it. Does this just become a must ban for teams that aren't Vidra or Hydra, or does this comp end up being neutralized by a more threat-dense meta.
Now, how do you ban out the Octodad comp, as it were, and still take care of the other threats that are present in this Alliance tournament?
Well, that's really the problem. You have so much redundancy here. You've got access to basically 6 real choices. So you have the Navy, the Brutix, the Harbinger, the Hurricane, and then you have the faction versions of all of those. So even if you use all 3 of your bans to try and ban them out, they're still going to have options. Like, they could potentially bring a GIMP to, like, 6-man version of that setup, or just bring another setup that's good. Like, it's not like Vidra and Hydra haven't shown other setups. This is just something they've pulled out of the bag on the last couple of days in these tough matches, and it's worked wonders for them.
Now, what about the other teams, LAZERHAWKS and NC Dot? What have we seen them bring thus far in the tournament, and how might they react?
So, I believe I mentioned this earlier, but NC Dot has brought a variety of comps. They're not, I want to say, new to the tournament like Laserhawks is. So they obviously have the theory crafting behind DHP Wildcat, who's their captain. And they've brought in similar setups. I believe at one point they brought like drone spam using a chameleon for drone, like a I'm gonna say it. Yeah, like a third Gila, a Gila and a half. And then they've also, they've brought like the battle cruiser core with the Balgorn support. They brought in other setups, like they can obviously run like the Sleipnir setups, the shield comps that we've seen. And they've executed pretty well on those. Laserhawks is a little newer. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head the setups they've brought. But they've obviously executed well. I believe Laserhawks actually is the only team that hasn't actually lost a match yet, even though they've done a best of 3.
They haven't. They've done an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll look forward to seeing them, again, kicking off those best of 3 matches starting after the break after this match, which is not yet ready to go. It sounds as if, it seems as if we have an update coming from the booth. We'll go to Fozzie and moderator, who will explain what's happened and give us a little bit of a rundown as to why we're having this delay and what we're going to see here in the next couple minutes. So over to Fozzie.
Hey everyone, very sorry for the delay. What we've had is one of the members of the Pen is Out team here has had an issue on his end, some kind of disconnection. He hasn't been able to reconnect, so what we've decided is, since the match hasn't begun yet, with both teams approving this, we're moving that disconnected pilot out. We're letting them replace a new pilot into that ship with the same fit. He'll move back to the same spot on the field so they won't get any advantage, and then we'll get the match started. Because of the fact this happened before the match started, we don't have to go in with a team undermanned, which would be a real shame. So we are just getting this replacement in, and then we're going to have a really great match. So at the moment, we've teleported the disconnected pilot out. We're getting that ship with the same fit swapped over to a new pilot for Pen is Out that they have provided. We're going to get that pilot back in and then get the match started as soon as we can.
Yeah, it would be really unfortunate not to have that pilot in it, especially since it was one of their Navy Scorpions. If it's one of your bombers, that's really unfortunate.
It's going to die anyways.
It's going to die probably pretty quickly to what Hydra has. But since it's so crucial to the overall composition that Pen is Out has, CCP has made the decision to allow him to get a replacement and move the match forward from there on out.
Yeah, so we're just getting that swapped over now. We're not sure exactly how long that's going to take, but we have teleported the old pilot out and doing that swap. And all that's being run by our GMs and CCP Mimic behind the scenes. We have a whole team in the control room, some GMs managing communication with the teams, Mimic as the referee for this weekend, CCP Logibro as the tournament director, a whole team of production staff. Really big group of people that are doing a really great job over there.
Yeah, it's really impressing me to see how well the production's been going on so far. We've got a lot of people behind the scenes that you'll get to see. I think at the end of the tournament, we'll do like a final shot and show everyone who's been working together to make this all possible. But it's been going rather smoothly so far. Only so much you can do when one of your players disconnects and has an issue relogging into the server.
Yeah, we've seen this happen with the Alliance tournament. Unfortunately, unlike some other big esports tournaments, we have pilots connecting from all over the world, connecting from their home, so all kinds of issues can come up. Unfortunately, when something comes up mid-match, there's nothing we can do, and that's why we have a line in the rules that say that the tournament is as is, and basically we can't change things once the match has started. But in this case, because the match hadn't started, we were able to give them a hand and make sure we get a good match. I remember years ago, an entire team playing out of one internet cafe, had the internet cafe lose power. So we had a whole team disconnect and had to wait for them to come in. Lots of crazy things can happen. And we're getting these pilots swapped through. There is, it's just going to be a little bit of a delay. We have to be very careful moving the pilots in to make sure the tournament tool recognizes us and gets that all into place. So we can, we'll see, we can cut in either to another ad break or back to the desk, and then we'll get the match to you as soon as we possibly can.
Fox 4 is getting a drink. Fox 4 is always getting a drink. Alright, so let's raise our glasses and do score!
They're going up against Soilaris Chitonium.
Oh, you didn't know?
I want to call them.
They're better known as Slice.
Your ass better
Slice. Oh, it's Slice. I didn't realize that.
Don't waste my time, space. Double whip on my comment face. Range when I hit that chronic.
So it's hard to fit it all in.
EVE Dublin returns this October 20th and 21st. For tickets and more details, please visit www.evedublin.com.
ABA bringing Hugin, perhaps maybe they're a little bit less confident, whereas Hard Knocks very, very happy to bring two hyenas, so they're confident in their piloting.
NC Dot got whacked again, losing 3 Titans and 5 super carriers. NC Dot versus Snuffbox. I hope Snuffbox wins this.
Come on, Snuff, bring your A game. Let's take down NC.
My brother gets off work at 4 o'clock and we're coming down here to kick some mother.
Can I ask you kind of a weird question?
Do you want to play some spaceships with me?
Play Steve.
Play Steve.
Play Steve.
We shouldn't have been able to survive and kill what we did in that fleet. You spend a lot of time min-maxing fleets and stuff like that, but we are actually fucking better than some people.
We all have dreams of greatness. At Upwell Consortium, we have made this dream a reality.
And we heard from CCP Fozzy there about the delay in this match owing to a player unable to connect and CCP's decision, the ruling from the referee on the field to allow them to bring in another pilot piloting the exact same ship at the exact same position in order to keep the match even and fair, and to let them have that pilot, which, as you mentioned, is always a little bit difficult when you have a distributed tournament like this. But it's also, I think, very good for us to have the ability to hold tournaments where people can participate from around the world and not necessarily have to be in the same room at the same time. So we will have that resolved shortly as we wait, as our team works furiously behind the scenes to get it done, and we at the desk flounder. A few announcements about some EVE meets coming up, a few in August, not just the one that I mentioned in Denver, Colorado, the Blake Street Tavern, but also the EVE Midwest meetup, that happening in Urbandale, Iowa, the DC, Virginia, and Maryland meetup happening in Alexandria. There is a meet in Houston, Texas, and another in Las Vegas, Nevada, before the big show, which is happening next month in October. All those meets and more are available at evemeet.net if you're looking for players to hang out with in your area, or just want to get around some people and watch the Alliance tournament, or talk, or have a drink. Do make sure that you use that website and hop on if you're creating a meet. Go ahead and add it there so that other people can join in on the fun. And as I mentioned before, in October, EVE Vegas will be occurring, and then in November, later this year, EVEsterdam. Both of those events, huge. EVEsterdam, the largest player-run player gathering in the EVE universe, and EVE Vegas, the largest on the North American continent, not run by players. That is officially sponsored and operated by CCP, and we will have significant developer presence there. Not all of the developers have been decided, so if you would like to tweet at CCP Falcon and let them know that you want to punch me in the face, please do so. Tell him to fly me out. Tell him I'm important and beautiful, and I deserve some sunlight for once. It's hard. It's hard to be in this room all the time. Let's get some corrections here because I know that it's been eating you alive inside. Yintan.
Yeah. So earlier I said that there were 6 ships that you could bring in the battle group, the Octodad comp. In reality, there's 7. As we know, Feroxes can be used in that. I was just thinking of armor BCs. So my apologies, correction there. Basically what that means is that even 3 bans from one side is not enough to ban out the Octodad comp. You have to use 4 bans, which we do not give teams currently in this tournament, to even dig into the full depth of that comp's variations.
It makes it very difficult to target with the administrative tools available to these teams going into each match.
Yeah.
It does make it a threat. Is there a known on-field counter? Do we think that in a mirror match, we see any sort of swaying with particular ships?
If we go into a mirror match, it'll be interesting to see what happens to the mid slot, because I know that right now, though they're mostly being filled with things like tracking computers, stuff to make the ships operate better in what they're intending to do. If we see that left open, we might see both teams bringing a similar the ABC core or the Octodad, and then complementing it by changing out the mids a little bit, bringing some tracking disruptors. Because just judging by these Hydra bans, it seems that tracking disruptors are something that at least Hydra is scared of when using this team, banning out the Curse, very notably.
Rain, any thoughts?
I mean, I would assume that these teams have practiced internally with that. Obviously, us watching the matches have not seen anything to really break that comp. But my guess is, I would say, yeah, the teams have probably practiced both against and with it so that they would know what potentially beat it, what could beat it, whether it be arbitrators as potentially I want to say like the last 2 slots on the ship are more just arbitrators in a comp, or just using those mid slots for tracking disruptors.
Yeah, what do you think about potentially the matchup between the Skill U Balgorn team with, I believe, 4 BCs and like 2 arbitrators? What do you think that might do against this?
I mean, if the arbitrators are actually able to, I want to say, mitigate the turret damage of these battle cruisers enough, then it could really help. But at the same time, I mean, they still, like 8 battle cruisers does so much damage compared to the 4 battle cruiser DPS core that the Skill U team would have. So it'd be a pretty big DPS race. So it would take a lot of effort and like precise target calling from the Skill U team. But at the same time, they also have Logi. So the longer their Logi stays alive, or the longer those battle cruisers stay alive, the more the match swings in their favor.
Yeah, I think it really would come down to there is how much can you sell Uraneros for? Because Uraneros is probably going to die. We saw Hydra using this amazing tactic of coming in 0, hitting on that jump beacon, waiting for the Neros to start burning away, and then MJDing behind it. And at that point, it can't turn. It's just going to die.
Yep.
It's running right into the guns. It's the charge of the Light Brigade all over again.
It was an incredible tactic to watch.
Yeah.
We actually saw, I think, on the stream on camera, suddenly drones were flying off behind, and I was like, "Where are they going? Where are they going?" And then it showed up that the entire fleet had basically relocated in order to start delivering that damage.
As I believe Elise would say.
But he might say that, in fact. I'm sure that the audience at home will forgive your misstep there as far as identifying which ships can be brought in the Octodad. Not to highlight it any further, you've been spot on, Yintan, and I don't know if you've gotten enough credit in the Twitch chat or through Twitter, but I hope that everyone's in there right now. Give him an 07 in the Twitch chat. Let him know that he's doing a good job. Let all of the commentators know that they're doing a good job, and also let us know which team you pick for each of the matches coming up today, and of course tomorrow for the finals of Alliance Tournament 15. You can do that at react.eveonline.com. Before each match, go ahead and hop over and vote. Test your predictive powers against those of our illustrious and well-informed commentators, Rain Chocolate, Yintan, moderator, and Elise Randolph, all of whom we thank for being with us. And of course, special thanks, as we have a bit of a lull here, for all of the volunteers who dedicated their time in the feeder rounds of Alliance Tournament 15. Those volunteers coming from our ISD Volunteer Corps. If you're interested in volunteering, ISD has a number of different groups that cover different parts of the game. People who are more attentive to the lore, people who are interested in moderating chat channels, people who help out on our test servers, people who just want to be more involved in EVE and do things in game.
Yeah,
and of course we have a portal for them. You can hop over to eveonline.com and find out more about volunteer. Have you participated with ISD? Or interacted with them?
As a member of the CSM, we work quite closely with them, actually.
You don't say.
Yeah, it turns out the 2 community-based organizations that interface with CCP kind of know each other.
Incredible.
Wonderful how that works. But no, I love the ISD. They're great. They do a lot of good work in the Rookie Help channel. You know, obviously with the influx of new players that we saw with the Alpha Clone status, you know, helping to really drive up the volume in that channel, they were immensely helpful in making sure that people found their way through EVE, even with that wonderful new tutorial that we've got, which makes EVE so much easier to learn.
Thanks for that. Rain, much time spent with ISD volunteers?
Yeah, ISD usually shows up on Twitch streams, not only my own personal one or say Open Comms or EVNT, but they also frequent the CCP Twitch stream. Usually you can wave to them, talk to them. They're pretty friendly. I know sometimes like if you have concerns that you don't want to just talk about in the Twitch chat, or if you have links, especially because links are not allowed in CCP's chat. So if you say, hey ISD, here's a link to say like the schedule or the brackets or the volunteer link, which I'm assuming that they're posting in there, you can do that, and then sometimes they'll catch it and then post it in the link themselves.
I'll give an extra specific shout out. As a man of many hats, I not only chair the desk here at the Alliance Tournament, but I also work with our art and audio department here at CCP in a quality capacity, ensuring that stuff works the way that it should. And the ISD bug hunters are incredibly helpful. Those guys just do an amazing job of helping us track down issues and resolve them, whether players have found them, other players have found them or not. And I cannot stress enough how much I adore them and their efforts. And I hope some of them are watching because I invited them to watch, and they don't have to listen to me, but sometimes they do, and it's great. So, ISD Bug Hunters, if you're paying attention, thank you for all of your efforts. And if you at home who aren't a bug hunter would like to be one and help me out, again, please volunteer. Please get involved. And if you'd just like to hang out on Singularity, where you can take a look at all of the new features that are coming out and being developed, and let us know what you think about them, that's also helpful. EVE development relies on player feedback, and it relies on institutions like the ISD and the CSM to give us an idea of what we should be doing with our time and how we can make the game more inviting to new players, to streamers, to huge alliances, and to small soloists who want to go out there and mine rocks.
Yeah. Something else that you can do if you're enjoying the tournament, even with these rather long delays now, we actually have found out that they are manually reassembling the ship one item at a time, one individual module at a time, because it turns out the tournament tool not perfect, unfortunately.
Not ideal.
But it is brilliant. It's so much better than doing everything manually. And if you want to help show your support for the tournament, what you can do is you can purchase some IGC skins, which are beautiful, and go on all of the Serpentis ships, I believe, this year.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The IGC skin, using the IGC colors, blue, orange, and white. You'll see at least Randolph wearing them all the time. It's his preferred color combination. You'll see in videos here on Twitch or on YouTube. Yeah, those skins, wonderful, created by our graphics and audio department, and I think they really came out well. I think they look kind of good on those Serpentis ships. Rain, you're a big fan of skins. Do you have the full collection?
I do. I own one of every IGC skin. And then I believe even in our commentator room, we actually flew Daredevils and we got those IGC skins, and we're kind of trying to show them off before we got massacred by the...
Hey, we beat the hook pills. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
we held the field. Doesn't matter that we lost nearly 500 million ISK-worm. That was unfortunate, but it happens.
Yeah. But it was definitely fun, and we were looking fly. So,
looking fly. How was the room? What else went on there?
So we went to Suggerento, which is about 6 jumps from Jita, and we staged out of there in both Worms and Daredevils. And we flew around. We found a couple gangs, the Hookbill gang. There was a Griffin Navy issue gang, and quite a few others. And so it was obviously all the commentators. So Jin, myself, moderator, and Elise. And we were just kind of flying around, streaming out on the CCP channel, and then we shot a bunch of things, died a bunch. Towards the end, we tried to 1v1 a succubus. I actually believe, was that the pen is out succubus?
It was, in fact, a pen is out succubus.
4 people 1v1?
So
we'd all kind of evaporated into the mist.
Elise lost his, I think they were mid-grade snakes and implants, and he got potted back to tribute. And then moderator got really mad because he died to like a gate camp or something. He's shaking his head in shame over there.
I can't imagine him mad. That's not how I spell that word that comes before moderator.
He only brought 2 ships, whereas the rest of us were really rich and brought more of them too. So like I had 4. And then Jen had like some Logi ships, but we tried
subtle, Mr. Yinton. Subtle.
So we tried to fight. We started like as a small gang, 4 of us, and then by the end we're just like in Suggerentos, we're like, hey, there's some locals. Let's go fight them.
Yeah, like Faction Warfare Space is amazing for that, and that's probably one of the advantages that Pen is Out is going to have. You know, they are very practiced in this kind of small gang or even solo PvP, sitting in complexes, fighting people off. It's a really good way to train, and especially if you're new, it's a great way to go out there and enjoy some PvP rather than just watch it on the big screen.
Faction Warfare is the first thing that I did in EVE that I really felt like, oh, I accomplished something. I got points. I have no idea what happened to those points. I didn't.
You probably still have them.
I definitely still have them. But I felt accomplished, and I think that's what matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rain, I know you're familiar with some of the Hydra pilots. Do you want to talk about what Hydra do?
So I know about 3 of them. Fozzie mentioned Suetonia earlier. So Suetonia has a YouTube channel. He's a partnered streamer. And
he's also a commentator at the MR Championships in YC 118.
He is. He also helps with Even T, and he's a CSM on CSM 12. But he does a lot of small solo gangs, so he's really good at taking a ship, usually one that would be considered like an underdog ship, and then he'll fight larger ships. So I think his token ship is obviously the Kestrel, but he'll be T3 destroyers like Sveeples, Sabers, stuff that you wouldn't really expect to be killed by a Kestrel, and he'll just murder them. And then I fly with Blue Melon and Casper 24 and Amamake, so they do a lot of small gang solo stuff around there. They like to not take gates, meaning they don't really leave Amamake, whereas I kind of roam the space a little more.
It's a point, isn't it? He's a big donator, Big Daddy Blue Melon. He does just give from himself to the community. And I think is he not giving $100 to the charity of?
He did promise that if we said Big Daddy Blue Melon on stream, that he would give money to a charity.
And all we had to do was say Big Daddy Blue Melon.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Blue Melon.
That's something else. Of course, Big Daddy, we do thank you for your donation to the charity of Rain's Choice. Are you selecting the charity?
Yeah, so I told them that I would select it, and I haven't decided yet. I figure we could all kind of come together in agreement since it's a team effort.
There are a number of charitable organizations run through EVE. Of course, we mentioned Best of Us earlier. Also, Broadcast for Reps, a few other worthy causes. And of course, if you're interested in any of those, hop online and check out their web pages, check out their in-game channels. I'm looking at Fozzie here, who's shaking his head. There's still an issue, and maybe we'll go over to the booth. Just to get some chat from Moderator and Fozzie about what's been going on and about the teams that are taking the field. So for Rain, Yintan, and myself here at the desk of Alliance Tournament 15, we'll go to Fozzie and Moderator.
Hey everyone, we are getting very close now. So we've got the replacement pilot in place in a replacement ship. And we are just getting the teams back onto the field now. We're giving the team a opportunity to warp in. They have to warp in at exactly the same range as before, and then we will get going. So again, very sorry for the delay, but we now have the teams, I believe, getting very close to being ready here. So this, the winner of this team, of this match, is going to be going up against Northern Coalition Dot in a series later. It's going to be a really, really great series, I think. NC Dot, of course, coming fourth last year, being a very strong showing this year. Penn is out, surprising a lot of people with a lot of strength, and Hydra, of course, being a real tournament heavyweight. It's going to be a really great grudge match, I think, between whatever team wins here and NC Dot.
Yeah, I don't believe we've actually seen an NC Dot Hydra match, at least not in a best out of 3 in recent memory. NC Dot, having come in fourth last year, wasn't quite satisfied with the way that they lost to Volta in that best out of 3, going 0-2, and they're really hungry to get back and to try to do better than they did last year. So going up against either the winner of Penn is Out or Hydra, they will go into a best out of 3. So from here on out, after this match has been completed, every match is going to be a best out of 3. So all the viewers get to see all the beautiful explosions and Alliance tournament ships that everyone has prepared.
And of course, another thing that these two teams are fighting over is the winner will be guaranteed to get Alliance tournament prize ships.
Yes.
You cannot get any worse than fourth if you manage to win this match, and the top 4 teams all get some BPCs of the new prize ship. The Victor and the Virtuoso are 2 really awesome ships that we've created, dedicated as tournament prize ships. They're both from the Serpentis faction. And they have some really cool abilities. The Virtuoso is a stealth bomber that also has all of the bonuses of a Daredevil. So it's got the web strength bonus, it's got blaster damage. It's very, very agile and has, of course, the covert ops cloak of the bomber, as well as all the torp and bomb damage. Really exciting ship. I think it's going to be a very challenging ship to figure out how to use effectively. Yes. But for a pilot that can kind of master it, I think they're going to do really, really well. And then the Victor is a recon ship. So it's the Force Recon, able to cloak with the Covert Ops Cloak and Warp Cloaked, and has a long-range 90% web, which is the first time that EVE has ever seen that combination of bonuses.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a hybrid between the Rapier and the Vigilant, more or less. So I'm really excited to see that. So the winner of this is guaranteed to go somewhere in the rough ballpark of, I would say, 700 to 800 billion-isk is on the line in this match.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason we're wanting to make sure that both these teams have the very best opportunity that they can, as we are now more or less in the money at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are just getting the pilots in here. I think everyone's into system at this point, and just getting them moved around correctly. So they'll be landing on the field very soon. As you can see on your screen, we got Hydra still in position. We've moved Penazao back to the deployment location so that we can get them together and then bring them back in. This tournament, of course, landing right after we just had a recent patch, our August deployment in EVE Online. So we didn't have any major things that affected the tournament in that patch, but we did release a new event. So there is currently a limited time event going on with some locations in space where you can kill an NPC and get yourself a booster that'll improve you for a short period of time. And that is themed around the tournament, called Lucky Clash.
Yeah, so Jin Rain, myself, and Elise Randolph as well, we're actually running some of the Lucky Site events, trying to bait out some fights in the frigate roam that we did yesterday night. We had quite a bit of fun with that. So right now we are getting some GM instructions in local for our new replacement pilot in that Scorpion Navy issue. So relatively soon. Thank you for bearing with us as long as you have, Twitch chat. We're doing our very best to make sure that everyone is on field and is prepared for this upcoming series.
Yeah, getting very close now. In my day job, so other than working on the Alliance tournament with our team here, I'm one of the game designers on EVE Online. My team, Team 5-0, is hard at work on the refineries and moon mining. We talked about it at FanFest. We're going to be talking more about it in the future. We've got another dev blog actually getting ready to probably release next week, talking about the new reaction system. So this is a replacement for reactions in the game right now, which use star bases in a fairly old UI. It's not the greatest user experience. I say with an understatement. And we're updating it to use the industry system, the Creus industry system, and we think it's going to be a huge upgrade to the user experience. And that's going to be a functionality that's limited to the new refinery structure. So one of the reasons that you would deploy a refinery in low-sec or null-sec or wormhole space to set up these reaction chains.
Yeah, try to get a hold of all that juicy moon goo that you can to get some of the Alliance income. Pen is out. I'm not actually sure if they have some of those moons in low-sec. They kind of live in more or less the factional warfare area that's known for having a lot of R32s and 64s that people really want to get a hold of.
Yeah, and they've been heading out into nullsec as well, I think, hanging out in some of that Serpentis nullsec space, and of course there's some good moons to be grabbed there too. Moon mining as a whole is something that's being updated in our winter expansion, EVE Online, and that's a big part of what I've been working on. We've talked about the procedure of mining the moons before, the fact that now you're going to be pulling this big chunk out of the moon, exploding it in space. I can say we showed off the graphics for that in EVE Down Under. So when we sent a couple of people from our staff down to the Sydney player gathering in EVE Down Under, got to show off some of the graphical effects of this giant laser firing into a moon, destroying a big chunk of the moon's surface and then pulling up this giant asteroid to split it to pieces. It looks amazing. It feels amazing. I think it's going to play really well as well.
Speaking of giant chunks, both teams now getting on the field are want to get a chunk at this prize pool. We see Pen is out have come back in. And then, of course, the same comp at the same range as discussed earlier, as per the rules of the tournament.
Yep.
So both teams getting ready to take the field in momentarily. We'll get a countdown, captains confirming that they are good to go.
Yep, both teams have now confirmed they are ready. We are finally ready to go. Again, very sorry for the delay, but the result of this delay is that we actually have two fully staffed teams ready to have a real match. For anyone who doesn't remember when we talked about these teams at the beginning, this is this Octodad high damage, as we say Octodad, I'm going to bring Leggy Bro back in, high damage 8 battlecruiser setup from Hydra. This is the same setup that we saw them use earlier today. Pen is out is bringing what we believe to be a Navy Scorpion Basilisk Tinker, very defensive. So we've got really one of the strongest offense teams we've seen in this tournament versus one of the strongest defense teams.
Yeah, so we're going to see what is stronger, an immovable object or an unstoppable force.
Yep. And we are now 5 seconds away from the start of the match. All the links in the world going off for this Hydra team. Almost every one of the battlecruisers, I believe, has links, which provides great link redundancy. And the match is now off. So we're going to see what they do, whether they're dropping drones, and it looks like it's all damage drones once again. Not bothering to use these Logi drones.
Hydra is wasting absolutely no time sending their entire drone wing and their damage, pulling range, getting in maximum damage range with the Basilisk. Meanwhile, Pen is out, have used their combination of that Jackdaw and the Harpy, getting on top of Nebula 12's Navy Harbinger and pounding through him with the cruise missiles that those Navy Scorpions have to bear.
Yeah, the fact that this Bassi is surviving this well, actually, I think is a good sign for Pen is out. I was really worried on their side that they would lose that Bassi within seconds. But it looks like they're going to get a Navy Harp kill before it goes down, and we'll see if it has enough cap to be able to sustain this tank indefinitely.
Yeah, so Nebulous 12 is down, and the entire premise of the Pen is outside is to bleed enough ships and damage from the Hydra team. And having said that, though, the Basilisk is down into low armor.
He's still
in
boosting,
hull.
though.
If Hydra can kill the Basilisk, that's their win condition. They have done it.
Okay.
Hydra has dropped the Basilisk, but Water Ubersnull is currently the primary, already dropping down into about hull.
So because they went after the Basilisk first, they didn't get these bombers down early, which is, of course, one of the reasons that Navy Harp died so quickly. They are switching the bombers now, which is correct. I think it was probably a tough choice whether to go after the Bassi or the bombers first. But 2 Navy Harps are down. Pen is out's only chance here is they need to kill enough of the Hydra battlecruisers so that the 2 Navy Scorpions can just win on their own. These Scorpions can cap transfer each other and have local reps. So actually, if they can get the DPS down low enough, the 2 Navy Scorpions can possibly just win the whole match themselves.
Yeah, eventually they're trying to take that Hydra attack bar, which is not applying a lot of it. We'll see a lot more applied. That Nemesis drops down. So these Nemesis and Manticores do roughly equivalent damage, like Fozzie was saying, of a Harbinger, and Lord Anubis is now dropping. Pen is out up on points, 5 up. They're down to 5 ships, though. So Hydra wants to cut through this remaining core. They're going to put all their damage on Francis McLean, the replacement battleship pilot that Pen is out brought in. And if they can break him before they lose the damage threshold that Fozzie was alluding to, Hydra will be primed and poised to take the match.
So what do you think about the choice of going after this Navy Scorpion rather than one of the battlecruisers? The Navy Scorpion drops pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm actually really liking this. So we can see that Pen is out is putting some logistics drones on top of it to sustain the tank, but it's not enough. It's already down into armor. It's taking a significant amount of damage. And what's significant is the Tonius tank no longer being there. So Pen is out is going to be dying slower, but if they can trade a Navy Scorpion for a Brutix and a Harbinger, they're going to be in a good position.
So that's 4 of the battlecruisers down for Hydra. The bombers, with a significant chunk of Pen is out, DPS are down, and the Navy Scorpion's about to follow. This Brutix is dropping pretty quickly, though, as well. Might be hull tank, though. Hull would be a good way to passive tank these Brutixes. So I wouldn't be surprised if Blue Melon, the captain for Hydra Reloaded, can survive actually for quite a long time here.
And you know what it looks like? Armor overrated, shield outdated, long have we waited, hull tank absolutely debated. Hydra having a massive hull buffer and is trading out perfectly for Tech Stalker's shield. The Navy Scorpion down into red shield. If Blue Melon can survive long enough for the remaining core of Hydra to trade out, Navy Scorpion for Brutix is a perfect call.
That is a great trade if possible. And so Tech is boosting shields. He is still getting some boosts, but it's not going to be enough, I think, to keep him up. I do think Blue Melon's going to go down first, as we see. Yeah, Blue Melon drops off the field, but Tech is going to follow. And then we're going to have Brutix, double Ferox, double Vexor versus Myrmidon, Ferox, Harpy, which is an advantage to Hydra. It's a very strong advantage.
It's a massive advantage. So we can see that the Pen is out. They have that pink bar.
Tech is just holding on for so long. Wow.
Yeah, so that pink bar that we saw on Pen is out is their active tank. But right now, look at the attack bar and the control bar on Pen is out. It's been cut down to a minuscule amount. Hydra still has a massive attack bar. They're applying their control bar perfectly, and they still have a lot of damage that's applying excellently to Zoan. Hydra, for the first time, really being tested, but showing why they are the team that has done so well historically in the Alliance tournament, basically cutting Pen is out of the bracket at this point.
Yeah, this Ferox and Zoan dropping off the field now, and it looks like Casper's Ferox is holding on just fine. There isn't very much DPS left for Pen is out. This Myrmidon is going to drop next, and that will be the match. And we're going to have Hydra Reloaded versus NC Dot in a series towards the end of the day today. So after this match, we're going to be going to Hydra Reloaded versus Laserhawks in a best of 3, and Hydra Reloaded versus NC Dot. 2 amazing series, I think.
Yeah, that's the next series I'm really excited for. But what do you think, Fozzie? So Pen is out. We know that they're not the richest alliance, right? They're kind of a sister alliance to both Project Mayhem and Snuffbox, operating together in that low-sec coalition. But one thing I can't help but think was, what if Pen is out had an Atana?
An Etana would be a lot stronger in this setup. If you had an Etana, they'd probably have to go after the Bombers first rather than the Logi. This setup could be a lot stronger in that case. But I just think Pen is Out probably decided they didn't want to commit that much to the tournament.
Yeah, so Pen is Out has been completely cut out of the tournament by Hydra Reloaded. The desk will have plenty to say about that exhilarating match, which we will now throw to them for.
And Pen is Out, eliminated from Alliance Tournament 15 in a tense match. Whether or not they were going to go one way or the other, almost uncertain before that Basilisk dropped. Tell us a little bit about the target calling, what we saw, the choices, and the potential for swap outs. Rain, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so I believe Fozzie actually mentioned this, that there were bombers on the field, and bombers give about 500 DPS each for very minimal points. So there were 3 of them, so that's 1,500 damage that can easily apply to battle cruisers. And so the Hydra team opted to go for the Basilisk first rather than those bombers, and in doing so, I believe they lost their 2 Navy Harbingers, I think it was. And so they had to try to make those trades very quickly. But once the Basilisk was down, they immediately went for those bombers, and then the match snowballed in their favor.
Yin?
Yeah, that was a really interesting match, and a lot closer than we were really expecting it to be. You know, we thought that they'd just be able to immediately kill that Basilisk, and that would be game over, but as you might have been able to tell by the occasional muffled scream from Rain, not the case. A lot closer than we were expecting, so that could be a potential weakness for this 8BC core.
Now, we heard them mention it in the booth. I heard you mention it about 2 minutes before. If you have access to an Etana, does that fight change?
That fight probably is... You saw how hard they were struggling to kill that Basilisk. I can't say for certain if an Etana would have survived, but it could have taken them an extra minute or even 30 seconds, and that could have swung the match. 30 seconds more of Navy Scorp DPS is not trivial in a match like that when you're just racing to kill the other team.
Anything that Pen is Out could have done differently other than that potential Logi swap to turn that match in their favor?
Warping in at a massive range could potentially have done it. I think if they warped in at 50, it would have taken a little longer for them to get in there. Maybe that could have swung it, but I don't know. I can't call that one.
And you don't have to.
Yeah, I was going to say, they could have not gone for the Brutix, obviously. Moderator had his little Twitch chat poem pun thing going on about Brutix being hull tanked. And so obviously choosing to shoot a Ferox over a Brutix may have helped, but
I think poem is appropriate.
It's not poetry.
It's
slam poetry. MC Maud in the studio.
MC Moderator is my new favorite meme. If you're looking for a GIF to make or a video to upload, MC Moderator is the one we're looking for now. Be sure to throw that up and then hashtag ATXV. We have a schedule change because of the delay in the match that we just saw coming up here. We will see Vidra, the Otters, versus LAZER HAWKS, the Ducks. Those teams will engage in 6 minutes here on Alliance Tournament 15. That match moved to 17:20, and then we will have a break. We will continue with the next match in our series in our concurrently run best of 3 series at 1800. So that match originally scheduled for 17:20 between NC Dot and Hydra moved down to 1800 Eve time. Basically moving our schedule forward about 40 minutes so that the teams have the same amount of time to prepare themselves, and then hopefully we'll get back on track here without too much of a delay. Again, we apologize for that, but sometimes you just have to make it work, and in that particular instance, Hydra certainly did. Made it work. So coming up next, the first in a series of best of 3 between Vidra Reloaded and LAZER HAWKS Laserhawks. What do we think?
It's a hard match to call. These are two great teams. We've both seen them take, obviously, a series. They've both taken a best-of-3 series. I believe Vidra went up against NC Dot, and Laserhawks went up against Pen Is Out, if I'm remembering that correctly. Yep. And in that case, we don't really have an edge here, but I'm going to call it for Vidra.
Calling it for Vidra already without bans. He's bold and he's noble. We haven't even met the team yet. Rain, you care to make a comment, or should we just go straight to the intro video?
I will definitely throw my vote to Laserhawks, and yes, we should go straight to the intro video.
A split desk. And before we go to the match, we will introduce the first of our two teams here, Vidra Reloaded. Vidra Reloaded. If you hear me say otters, it's because Vidra means otter in Russian.
Yes.
And let's see what the commentators had to say about them.
The Vidra Reloaded team, one of the clowniest teams that you'll ever be able to see in the Alliance tournament. Nick and Noiser and their theory crafting core, they come up with really off-the-wall setups that most teams don't really know what to expect and what to do with. We saw this a lot in the Even T Championship Series when this entire core of the team played under the name Sudden Otters. When they picked and when they banned ships, no one knew how to deal with them and they set their own meta. They're doing that a lot this year as well. They have some setups that you see other teams using, but most of the times they're coming up with something that nobody's really thought of and nobody's really practiced against.
One of the key pilots in their run this year has been Randolph Sykes, an elite tier frigate pilot who's been able to do everything from tackle down a Balgorn without dying to simply bomb off all of the drones in the world in a Manticore. Vidra Reloaded takes its name as a parody of Hydra Reloaded, a team which has proven to be very strong in any tournament they've taken part in. In fact, Vidra actually has a long-standing friendly rivalry with Hydra Reloaded, being practice partners with that team. As such, I'd expect any fight between the two to be hotly contested and very interesting to watch.
The Vidra team does have a bit of a weakness though. In the best-of-3 series against NC Dot, we saw them become a little bit too predictable. They're also very aggressive when they fly. They really want to get a lead and snowball from it. And so their positioning is always aggressive. So that means if one pilot makes a mistake, or something slips out of the control, or they're confronted with a situation they didn't practice against or didn't have a good decision making for, they can just fall behind and lose that match. So their aggression really makes them vulnerable.
Thanks to Elise Randolph there for providing a little bit of background on the team, one of the teams that are set to take the field here, Vidra Reloaded, LOL. This match about to commence. Before we go, we do have the bans. Vidra have banned the Guardian, the Oneros, and the Rabisu, Triple Armor Logi, and the LAZERHAWKS Laser Ducks have banned out the Harbinger Navy issue, the Atana, and the Brutix Navy issue. And based on those bans, do you guys care to revise, or are you sticking with your original instincts?
I'm going to stick with my original instincts, but note that I'm fairly sure that this match is going to be a quick one. It's going to be two teams trying to outrace each other. I wouldn't be surprised to see if Vidra brings some variation of that Octodad core.
Rain?
I'll stick with Laserhawks, although I believe Vidra will bring something different. I think they'll bring a shield comp.
A shield comp?
With because they brought the Double Rook Chameleon before, so they could easily do something along those lines again.
But MC Moderator has already declared that shields are outdated. How?
Well, he's going to have to come up with a new poem then.
That's so incredibly brutal. It's unkind. Before we go to the boys in the booth, CCP Fozzie and Moderator, who are just about ready to take over this match, a couple quick shouts. One to Mythos the Immortal in Twitch chat. Always shows up for the Alliance tournament. Always a good friend to us here in the control booth and here at the desk. Also, shout outs to Chevis. Chevis? You know Chevis?
The
Reddit user.
Infamous poster.
Chevis. Kessie and Madden Kanrende, whose name I probably butcher. Thank you all for paying attention and participating with us here. And we will go to CCP Fozzie and Moderator in the booth for this match. Vidra Reloaded versus LAZERHAWKS Laserhawks here at Alliance Tournament 15.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Moderator, joined by CCP Fozzie. And Fozzie, we have to have one of what appears to be the most brutal match in the Alliance tournament. So all teams have warped into Zero at the beacon with everything that they have, going with not an Octodad, but a whatever you call
Heptadad. Yeah. So Vidra has brought the Octodad setup, 8 battlecruisers. Laserhawks have brought a 6 battlecruiser version of it. Navy Augurs and Pontifexes filling out the rest of the team. 10 seconds left. These teams have warped in right at Zero. Warping in Zero, we've seen that be an effective tactic because you can use the micro jump beacons right off the bat. You can also hit stuff really well from the range of the battlecruisers. These are long-range fit battlecruisers, so that's one of the things that we checked immediately when they warped into Zero. These are all beams and artillery and rails, and we're going to see them hit each other right now, so the match has begun.
Speaking of things getting railed, both Harbingers of Cuckoo and Casey Cook are dropping down into low armor. So what this is going to be is a battlecruiser trade. They're going to try to scram each other at Zero, burn away if primaried, and more or less try to trade out effectively. Harbinger's dropping in about the same server tick, but Laserhawks just slightly behind. Vluglas surviving just a little bit longer than Nia.
One difference here between the two setups, Vidra has brought all damage drones, while Laserhawks has brought all ECM drones. Vidra going really all in on damage. Laserhawks hoping to disrupt the Vidra team, but it looks like Vidra's plan is working out a little bit better here.
Yeah, so far Laserhawks doesn't appear to be getting those jams off. We can see that the Vidra ships do have jam attempts, but the attack bar is much more concentrated, and concentrated fire onto a Moloch the Wirer has dropped that Fleet Hurricane. So far, Hydra up a total of 1 battlecruiser right now. Laserhawks are really going to need those Navy Augurs to come in clutch.
Yeah, Navy Augurs great for tackling because of the fact they're so beefy. They're some of the tankiest cruisers in the game. Really hard to clear them off. Not great for DPS though. So actually they're not going to be as helpful. They're great for keeping the teams from running away, but Vidra has no intention of running away here. Nobody's trying to use the micro jump beacons. Everyone is just blowing each other up.
So the Ferox of Skinblafner and Alexei Askin, the Eve NT statistician who's done so much great work for us, has both dropped at the same time, and already the Brutix of Fox Azen is dropping down into hull, and he appears to be...
Oh, yeah, that's a hull tank.
He might... Yeah, that's going to be a hull tank. He's dropping rather slowly. So Laserhawks will score blood to return into this, but the Ferox of ISIS is dropping down into low shields. But Laserhawks only has a total of 4 ships right now. Hydra has a lot more control.
And Vidra also has a lot more damage. The ships that are left for Laserhawks as this second Brutix enters its hull tank, Brutix, double Navy Augur, double Pontifex, that's not a lot of DPS left on the field. This Ferox of Isis Carbon is going to go down, but I don't think that Laserhawks has enough DPS to kill anything else after that.
No, they'll maybe get a kill, maybe a Vexor or a Brutix, but Vidra has plenty of damage right now. They'll have no trouble clearing the support car. And this is one of the things that Fozzie and I were talking to each other about at the beginning of the match. Pontifexes are great if you're trying to use them like an assault frigate or a Svipal to try to pin something down and then try to kill bombers or bombers. But those Vexors for 4 points, especially at 0, are going to do so much more work than a Pontifex, and it's allowed Vidra to really control the tempo and set the pace of the match.
I really do like the Vidra version of this battlecruiser core so much better. 2 more battlecruisers and 2 Vexors versus 2 Navy Augurs and 2 Pontifexes. The Ferox and Vexor combo, I think, is much stronger. As we see the first Navy Augur drop for Laserhawks, it's now just a matter of time. Vidra is going to win this match. Of course, unlike the matches earlier today, this is not an elimination match right away. Vidra and Laserhawks are here in a best of 3. Actually, even then, it's a winner's bracket series, so the loser of this will then still be in the tournament. But this is going to be just the first of the best of 3 series, so Laserhawks is going to have a chance to respond to this Vidra team. Maybe if they have a counter they've come up with, maybe they want to adjust their setup to be more like the Vidra one, and we can see a mirror match. We'll see what they do in the time they have between these 2 matches.
Yeah, we see good fights in local. Laserhawks realize that they're clearly more or less outclassed at this point. Vidra has so much more material left on grid, and the Navy the Fleet Hurricane of Ice Tim is completely ice cold as he's cool, calm, and collected, knowing that with only 2 Pontifexes remaining, that Vidra are securely ahead in this match.
Yeah, Ice Tim dropping down to about half armor, but with only 2 Pontifexes left for damage, it's just, no, he's fine. He's sitting pretty. These last 2 Pontifexes are still brawling it out, sitting here within their drone range, trying to do some damage, getting chased down by this big damage drone swarm. So with a battlecruiser setup like this, we've seen teams bring battlecruiser setups with a lot of Logi drones, drones. We've seen teams bring with damage drones. We've now seen Laserhawks bring with ECM drones. What would you say about the relative strengths and weaknesses of those, moderator?
So the idea is that, especially in a mirror matchup like this, you want to do whatever enables your team to trade out faster. So let's say that rep drones only repair effectively 100 damage a second to another battlecruiser for like a flight of mediums. I don't know if those exact numbers, but just the premise. So if you have 150 damage, say in medium drones, you want to go with the medium drones because you're outputting more damage than the other team can repair. And Vidra was going for a very offensive setup, going for those damage drones. Laserhawks trying to go with ECM to try to jam out cycles on the Vidra team. But one of the things that changed with the battlecruiser buff about 18 to 24 months ago that you were a part of, Fozzie, was that these battlecruisers have much more resilient sensors, and as such, they're much more difficult to jam out than they had been in the past.
Yeah. Jamming drones obviously can do a great job of just the occasional disruption, as we see Ice Tim here using a micro jump field. They're using these to get on top of this last Pontifex and get within range to be able to shoot him. 103 kilometers, he has to make sure not to coast out of the arena. The drones, though, again, against big ships like the Hurricanes, are not going to be quite as effective at jamming. And that is the end of that match. Vidra Reloaded taking the first of their best of 3 against Laserhawks in a really solid fashion. And we'll send it back to the guys in the desk.
Is a union of powerful mega corporations have brought its people both misery and triumph.
My brother gets off work at 4 o'clock and we're coming down here to kick some mother. Friends through eternity, loyalty, honesty will stay together through thick or thin. Friends forever will be together. We're on top 'cause we play to win.
The Otters worth their weight in gold as they take the Ducks and dunk them for one match. That's the first in that best of 3. We'll see how the LAZERHAWKS team can respond when they play their second match. Now that's been pushed down. Of course, our first matchup between Hydra Reloaded, and NC Dot will be coming up next. That set to commence at 1800 Eve time when we come back from the break. Before we break, any comment on the match we just saw?
It was just a bloody, brutal affair, wasn't it? It was just 2 teams, no logistics, all DPS. This is something we'd expect to see almost in the feeder rounds, but both these teams assessing that this is where the meta lies right now and trying to make the most of it. Going in ham. We'll see if that carries on throughout the rest of the series, because we've still got potentially 2 more matches to go.
Right?
I thought it was as close to a mirror matchup as we've seen, especially with that new setup, the 8 battlecruiser core. So, I thought it was interesting. I believe Fozzie and Moderator talked about the use of drones, the use of those extra, I believe it was those last points for those double Vexors instead of, say, the double Pontifexes. So it's good to see, I guess, something to at least kind of fight back against the 8 battlecruisers.
And we'll see how the teams respond when we come back for the second of this best of 3 match, commencing after the first of the Hydra NC Dot match that will commence at 1800 Eve time. Be sure to hop onto react.eveonline.com to let us know who you think is going to win. You can vote there before each match, and we'll see the results of that voting live on screen during each of those fights. Also, please tweet us, give us a shout, let us know what you think about the Alliance Tournament and what you want to see or what you're hoping to see as we continue with the rest of these matches today. You can do that using the hashtag ATXV with your tweets, interesting images, screen captures of my illustriously beautiful co-hosts and presenters, commentators, Rain Chocolate, Yin Tan, moderator, and Elise Randolph. Until 1800 Eve time, I am CCB Antiquarian, and fly free. and welcome back from the break. I am CCP Antiquarian, and this is CCP's official broadcast of Alliance Tournament 15. Joining me at the desk right now, Elise Randolph, and moderator, who up until now has been in the booth commenting on matches, Elise sitting backstage doing very little. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Elise, how are you?
Pretty good. I've been giving everyone moral support.
Moral support, very important.
Yep.
That's why we included as a ship in the game the moral supporter with its moral support modules.
I've also gotten every prediction correct.
No one contests that. Yeah. Moderator, how are you feeling?
Well, Tuskers is out of the tournament, so... But besides that, it's great. It's great to be out with all these commentators and CCP staff members. I've been having a blast so far, doing the Alliance tournament so far, and I'm really looking forward to getting an opportunity to break down these upcoming matches for you.
Speaking of blasts, these upcoming matches will be the continuation of our best of 3 series with Vidra Reloaded and LAZER HAWKS. Of course, Vidra taking the first of that best of 3. We'll see whether or not Laserhawks has an answer to them coming up. First, though, we'll go to the first in a best of 3 between NC Dot and Hydra, both of whom have already had a match today. Mm-hmm. So we'll see whether or not they're starting to flag under the pressure of performing here at the Alliance Tournament. We do have bans in for this match, and we'll get those bans out here before we go to the team in the booth. That's Rain Chocolate and Yin Tan. The bans coming in for Northern Coalition are the Blackbird, the Kitsune, and the Rook. Blackbird, Kitsune, Rook.
No one likes ECM. Especially the NC Dot team.
It's clear that they're not happy when ECM is on the grid. Hydra Reloaded have gone after the Rabisu, the Etana, and the Brutix Navy issue.
Trying to take out a little bit of bling. Don't want to see any tinkers or anything like that?
There's still a lot of logistics available, a lot of talented, a lot of skilled, a lot of good ships that they could take instead of a Rabisu or an Etana. They're not quite as good as those Alliance Tournament prize ships. They are cool. Mod, what do you expect to see based on those bans?
Well, obviously, we're not going to be seeing any sort of Alliance Tournament logistics, those being banned out. NC Dot really, really hates ECM. They might be a little bit scared knowing that Vidra and Hydra have been practice partners, and obviously having seen some of the setups that Vidra have brought with ECM, that Chameleon Rook setup, not wanting to see anything like that.
In that instance, why not ban the Rook, but then go after something else, a little bit more of a threat? We've been talking recently about how difficult it is to ban out all of the possible comps that we've seen in this tournament. But why concentrate solely on ECM? What is it that they're likely to bring with them that would be severely hampered by the presence of ECM on the field?
Well, one thing that doing that really opens up for is you can run a lot of shield setups. So shield setups have difficulty putting a local or remote sensor booster to increase your strength against jams. And because it's a mid-slot module, you'd have to put that in instead of a tank module or something else in a mid-slot, especially in a shield setup. It also frees up armor mids to do more with other offensive E-War, such as painters, tracking disruption, instead of having to worry about having to fit local sensor boosters to your ship.
Elise, what do you think, based on these sets of bans and what we've seen from these teams before?
So I think banning out the ECM, it's the strategy that NC.'s been doing the entire Alliance tournament, and they just added that Rook in there because they know that Hydra has a devastating Rook Chameleon team. And, it kind of just says, you have no idea what I'm bringing. You just know I hate ECM, and everyone hates ECM, so it's not very telling. A lot of times, if you're not careful, the bans can be very leading to what you want to bring. And you don't want to get stuck in a mind game like that and outplay yourself. So this just says, NC. We could bring anything we want. We can bring that drone rush team. We could bring something with like a hyena or something that they don't want to get jammed. Pretty much anything.
The field is open. Of course, Hydra may be a little bit... pardon. Terribly sorry. Someone's shouting in my ear. Hydra ready to go up against NC. And both teams have fought already today. But interestingly enough, this will be no, both of those other teams were eliminated. That's right. This is just the second match for each. Yeah. So we'll see how they handle it as we go to the booth where Rain Chocolate and Yin Tan are ready to take over for this best of 3 series between NC. and Hydra here on Alliance Tournament 15.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the booth. It's Yintan here with Chocolate Rain, and we're going to be watching NC Dot fight Hydra Reloaded, as Antiquarian just said, and Hydra Reloaded sticking with their tried and true, the Octodad setup, no changes at all to their typical comp, and NC Dot are bringing this Aneros, a very interesting 4BC core here, with Fleet Hurricane, 2 Navy Harbingers, Curse, double Brutix, double Vexor, and Punisher. What do you think about these comps, Rain?
So I think the Curse is very interesting. I believe we had mentioned that back on the desk earlier, how the Curse has the newts, the tracking disruptors, kind of being a T2 arbitrator. So that should help kind of oppress this Hydra 8 battlecruiser core. However, I'm not quite sure how it will play off. Obviously, we're going to have to see how that looks. And then Northern Coalition obviously opting to bring the Oneros for reps, whereas Hydra is just really relying on the tank that they have, and we have 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, something that's going to be very interesting to watch in the opening seconds of this match are those 2 Vexors on the Hydra Reloaded team. Those have typically seems to be the tackle for that Hydra Reloaded team, being significantly faster than the battle cruisers getting in there. The real question is, can the Punisher or the 2 Vexors of NC Dot screen them off and allow their Aneros to get a bit of range here at the start of the match before it gets obliterated? How dearly can they sell that Aneros?
Yeah, so we see links going off across the field. Obviously, these Hydra battlecruisers can have pretty decent projection. They warped in at 20 with the Northern Coalition Oneros warping in kind of at range. We can see it immediately being primaried using a target painter. Obviously, it will have a local rep, so we're going to have to see how well it survives. As we mentioned, those tracking disruptors coming out from that Curse across the Hydra team. NC Dot primarily the first Navy Harbinger piloted by Water.
Yeah, the Curse now is tackled on NC Dot, so that's going to be critical. You can see all of those TDs on the Hydra Reloaded team, and their Aneros is staying alive. It's managed to really turn off this initial volley that we've seen that's been so devastating. The Navy Harbinger of Water, Ubertensol, is taking heavy damage, going into structure here, while the Curse of BAP 118 is down.
Yeah,
that's crucial.
Yeah, so obviously Hydra is switching from the Oneros to the Curse to get rid of those tracking disruptors, and as we can see them fall across the symbol showing the tracking disruptors on the Hydra team fall. The Navy Harbinger is now down, and now they have switched the primary back to that Oneros piloted by Kraylor Darkalon, if I pronounce his name properly.
Yeah, and it looks like NC Dot really doesn't have any defensive tackle apart from that Punisher. The Punisher going there for Nixor X in the Vexor, just trying to keep some of that tackle away from the Aneros, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. This Aneros dipping now into half armor, and we talked so much about how that Aneros is going to be the real key of this match. If it dies and they don't trade a significant amount of Hydra Reloaded's team for it, they will lose.
Yeah, and so Hydra has lost their second Navy Harbinger, but the Oneros is bleeding structure, dipping very low into armor. And obviously Hydra losing 2 battle cruisers already doesn't matter. They had 6, they killed the Oneros, and now they're going to be able to pick away at Northern Coalition's battlecruiser core.
Yeah, this is simply 5. This is a simple numbers game here. It's 5 battle cruisers versus 6 on the opposing team. Double Harbinger, double Brutix, double Ferox, going up against 3 Navy BCs, 2 Brutixes, 2 Vexes, and a Punisher. And things are going poorly. You can see their Sharp SCG going down so fast under the weight of this power, trading out for a Ferox of Heart SP on the Hydra Reloaded side. Another just damage all over the place. Northern Coalition trying to use their drones to keep the other ships in their team alive.
Yeah, so obviously when they had the Oneros, having rep drones on that Oneros to help keep them alive made sense. Well, the Oneros is dead, so now they're just trying to apply those rep bots on any of the remaining members, trying to keep them alive as best as possible. We can see the Brutix being primary next with, on the Northern Coalition side, with Hydra's Harbinger taking damage.
Yeah, and look at how far the attack bar is dropping there for NC Dot, going incredibly low there, whilst Hydra Reload, it still has practically their full girth left to put onto the Northern Coalition Dot team. There is just damage coming out everywhere, but it looks like Lord Anubis is doing fine, is sitting in there in about 20% armor, whilst his opponent in the Navy Harbinger going down just as fast.
Yeah, so even though Lord Anubis is being primaried, he's dying a lot slower because Northern Coalition has less damage, obviously, than Hydra, but their damage core is pretty depleted. They still have the 2 Vexors for tackle and then a Punisher for tackle, but they don't dish out as much DPS as these battle cruisers on the Hydra side.
Yeah, they're trading evenly here, but Northern Coalition, only 2 battle cruisers now left against 3. That Fleet Hurricane may have a small advantage over some of the Hydra Reloaded options because it does have 2 links, so they're going to maintain a link parity with this Hydra Reloaded team, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. A Brutix going down with nothing traded back. Suetonia seems to be the primary, but he's holding fine.
Yeah, Suetonia being an expert solo pilot, he is not stressed at all. And it looks like Hydra is now killing, I believe, the last of that Fleet Hurricane. It looked like he was being primary, and now it looks like maybe some of these Vexers. Honestly, at this point, I don't think it really matters. I think the Hydra has this in the bag. A Fleet Hurricane, while good, cannot really defeat one of these battle cruisers, Hydra battle cruisers by itself. I mean, Hydra just has more damage and more tank.
Yeah, Fleet Hurricane, they're going into hull. He's unlikely to be hull tanked and is going to drop so fast to the full weight of this. 3 battle cruisers left on Hydra Reloaded time. 4 even left to 1. This is game over for Northern Coalition Dot.
Yeah, and I mean, it is game over for this match, but this is a series of 3, so best out of 3. So while they may lose this match, there are 2 more where they can try to prove themselves. However, this does give Hydra an advantage. They just win 1 more, and they have the match in the bag. So it's clean up on the Hydra side, picking off those Vexers and the Punisher as tackle.
Yeah, the real question is what can NC Dot come up with that can beat this Octodad core? We saw something interesting here, an attempt at bringing another threat-dense setup with that curse, trying to shut down some of the initial damage, and it worked well, but it wasn't enough here for NC Dot.
I was going to say, do you think instead of a curse of bringing 2 arbitrators like we had talked about on the desk, do you think that might be able to stop the Hydra Octodad?
I think the real question is, can it survive for long enough to have a huge impact? And that is yet to be seen. You need to bring high DPS, and you need to bring something to kind of shut down what Hydra is trying to do, and that is a hard theory crafting job indeed.
Yeah, and these teams do not have any time really to theory craft. I mean, I believe it's 40 minutes between matches now, and that is not enough time to try something new. And with that, we'll send it back to the guys in the studio.
We all have dreams of greatness. At Upwell Consortium, we have made this dream a reality.
And Hydra moves ahead with 1 win in that best-of-3 series, putting NC Dot down. They're going to have to struggle to keep up. A reminder, this series is, in fact, in the elimination bracket. The other series that we're concurrently running, still undefeated, both of those teams. So whoever loses the best-of-3 series between Hydra Reloaded and Laserhawk still has a chance. To come back and make an appearance in the finals, which will be happening tomorrow. We'll start the day at 1500 Eve time and continue through that last elimination match before we go to the real finals, which will commence at 1700. Pretty excited about that.
I'm super stoked to see the finals. I'm sad that Brave's not there. It's way sadder that PL's not there, but you know what? It's still going to be good. All these teams have a lot of a little style of their own, and they're fun to watch.
Maud, you looking forward to anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more difficult. Like, at least doesn't have Pandemic Legion to root for. I don't have Tuskers, so there's a lot of really exciting matches to root for anyway, despite some of our, actual Tranquility teams no longer being in the tournament. But yeah, it's been great throughout.
Now, if you're following along at home, if this is your first Alliance tournament, welcome, and we do hope that we're doing a good job of explaining everything that's going on. If you have any difficulties with the UI that's appearing on your screen, we do have a short explanatory video that we can throw up there, the tournament UI. Gentlemen, would you like to walk us through the components here?
Right, so at the very top, you've got the defense bar. You've got that teal kind of color, and then the purple. The teal is like the amount of EHP you have, and then the purple is the amount of active rep. Most of the time you see a very large blue-teal bar. And, unless you see a really cool flagship or a tinker, then you'll see that purple showing up.
Yeah, so that's just demonstrating what Elise was going over on the screen. You have your effective hit points, and then you've got your active repair. That'll be either logistics or drones. And here we've got the attack bar. So that's the red bar we see on the screen. The black or grayed out part is going to be the potential damage, but that's not being applied. So the red damage is applied
Yep, and similarly with the control bar, the size of the control bar is the potential amount of control you can have, and if it's filled up with green, that's how much is being applied.
Interesting. It says applied. What it means is attempted. Of course, whether or not that ECM genuinely hits or has an impact is dependent upon the gameplay mechanics.
And control includes, that's all EWAR effects, NOS and newts, webs, actually, that's it.
He's got it.
Yeah, that's all it is. And sometimes, like when you see a flag Balgorn, that thing will be pegged almost all the way off the screen because it's insane.
It's a beefy bit of tech to bring onto the field.
Yeah.
Of course, if you have additional questions about what you're seeing on stream, what you're seeing happening on the grid, or what we're talking about, or what the commentators in the booth are talking about, please put up a question in the Twitch chat. Let us know. There's plenty of informed individuals there who are happy and overjoyed to provide accurate and immediate and kind information to those of you who haven't a lot of experience watching this tournament before.
EVE Online are the most mannered gamers in the gaming industry.
Mannered gamers. Speaking of mannered gamers, we're going to see a bunch of them take the field in this second match in the Vidra versus LAZER HAWKS best of 3. Now we saw Vidra come very strong with their first match. Pretty much just put the Laserhawks down. Can Laserhawks come back?
I mean, I was impressed with Laserhawks. I was sitting over there in the control room screaming at the TV. Then they were like, oh, you can't scream. There's a live production going on over there. I was like, right, whatever. But I was really impressed with what I saw from Laserhawks. They were 30 seconds away from taking that match and doing one of the biggest upsets of the final weekend history.
Mod, do you think they can do it? Do you think they can pull an upset in this second match?
Yeah, going for the brawl trade like we saw at the very beginning, Laserhawks and Vidra going all out. Vidra's had the better comp, and I think that they've been showing a little bit more depth, a little bit just more overall than Laserhawks. It'll be an uphill battle, especially for Laserhawks being down 1-0. I'm going to give the edge to Vidra. I think they'll go 2-0 and take it.
Well, let's hear a little bit more about Laserhawks, that team who we haven't seen at the Alliance Tournament before, with this video that the commentators recorded earlier.
Laserhawks have never really made a deep run into the Alliance Tournament. This is much further than they've ever gotten before, and the top 8 run is rather impressive out of a team that doesn't have much in the way of Alliance Tournament pedigree. However, Laserhawks is looking to build their legacy right here and now in Alliance Tournament 15. Laserhawks, despite being a relatively new team to the Alliance Tournament, have shown rather solid depth and positioning in terms of their piloting and mechanics throughout this entire event. In particular, Alexei Askin, the statistician for EVE and T, has shown excellent understanding of how to fly the Navy Battlecruiser Corps.
King Tut-Tut of Laserhawks is a very skilled frigate pilot. We've seen multiple matches in the past where he has actually turned the match to Laserhawks' favor and executed very well.
Laserhawks doesn't really have a signature style that teams can really choose to play against or to ban against. In addition, Alexei, their statistician previously mentioned, has run a deep level of analysis in their picking and banning phase, allowing Laserhawks to gain an advantage that other teams might not have at this stage in the tournament.
While Laserhawks are new in the Alliance Tournament, they have flown in player-ran tournaments in the past, notably under the name Power Ducks and Even T. And so clearly that experience and that practice has shown to pay off for this Alliance Tournament since they have made a top 8.
Laserhawks have yet to meet an opponent that really has tested them and has put them under pressure. Will they crack under that pressure, or will they rise to the occasion?
Well, there we go. Moderator and Rain Chocolate giving us a little bit of chat about the team we're about to see on field versus Vidra Reloaded. Both of these teams doing very good so far. An interesting spread of bans have come in from them, and I'll share them with you here at the desk and the viewers at home. Vidra Reloaded have banned out the exact same set of ships in the exact same order that they banned out last time. The Guardian, the Oneros, and the Rabisu. The Laserhawks have banned out almost the same bans that they had before. One change. They've gone for the Harbinger Navy issue, the Brutix, and the Brutix Navy issue. Brutix, Navy issue, and Brutix. They don't like those ships.
They don't, so they're leaving the Etana unbanned. It's a risky move, and you know what? Might pay off.
It might. There's a 50-50 shot at this point, unless we're calling odds.
I mean, Laserhawks, the first match they ever lost this entire Lions tournament was that match right then versus Vidra. This is the first time they lost one match.
Wait, were they undefeated, or was it Vidra that was undefeated?
They were under. Vidra had to take a series to 3 versus NC Dot. Laserhawks stomped out 2-0 in their series of 3. So that was the first time that team has ever dropped a match in the Alliance tournament.
First blood.
History of the Alliance tournament.
Are they timid, though, or does that reinvigorate their desire for battle? Does it intensify?
Sometimes you just got to get that loss out of the way and be like, I just need that one. Now I'm back at it.
That's frequently how Eve works.
Yeah.
You're really scared. I'm gonna lose my Imperator.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? Then you die, and you're like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. I get another one.
It's not so bad.
Yeah. Maud, what do you think about that? Are you worried about your Imperator?
I have more things to be worried about than just an Imperator, But
humble brag.
Yeah. Imperator's not exactly the most expensive of ships in the EVE universe.
No, it's not. Astute observation from our commentator on the desk. With these bans in place and the teams getting ready to take the field, we've got about 6 minutes here before that fight kicks off. A quick reminder to those of you at home who've been paying attention, who just like the names, you can vote for who you think is going to take this match at react.eveonline.com. He's mouthing off.
What?
What?
I didn't say anything.
Vote for who you want to, and the votes will be displayed on the top of the screen during the match. That, I believe, is updated as new votes come in. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure that someone already has. In addition to voting there, if you'd like to tweet and see your tweet show up during the match, or on stream rather, you can do so using the hashtag ATXV. That's Alliance Tournament 15 here on CCP's Twitch channel. Have you guys been participating in on Twitter?
I've been tweeting up a storm, and no one puts my tweets in there.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe you should up your tweet game.
I mean, my tweet game is pretty good. You only got like 155 characters. I write long posts. That's my style.
Can't you do the like one of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3?
Like
these matches that we're seeing here in Alliance Tournament 15.
Nice.
What I did? Tied it all together. With those bans coming in from the teams, and the teams getting ready to take the field about 5 minutes before that match kicks off here, I'm getting the nod from Rain. That means that I'm telling you the truth. We're going to get a little bit more chat from the boys here at the desk about who they think is going to win and why.
Okay, so I think Laserhawks got this. In the first match, they had a pretty good comp. They picked weird ships. They picked the Pontifex for extra control, and they ended up going against a mirror match. They could have just taken Vexers instead of that Pontifex. We saw in the last match with the NC Dot match, the Vexers, for only 4 points, are ridiculously good. They tackled the curse, which isn't supposed to happen. That's what the Pontifex's job for, but the Vexer can do it just as well if you pilot it right. So frees up some extra points, get some more damage in there, drop the E-War drones, because F that noise, and just go all out deeps, and I think they can win it.
A vote for the Hawks. Moderator, what do you think?
I think the Russian Otters are going to clip the wings of the Laserhawks and send them straight down to lower bracket 2-0.
Wow. A prediction for a short series here from Moderator. Can we get a prediction from the Dinosaur?
No comment.
No comment. I'm shocked.
We made a mistake. Production value. Sorry, guys. He doesn't have his mic on.
No mic.
We'll get that fixed. We'll get that fixed in the next break.
Tragically bad, underrepresented Soroids. It's our fault, and we will make every effort to have him voiced in the future. I feel
just a rookie
like
move,
the
really.
BBC newscaster talking about dogs. We are going to go then for this match. We're going to cut over to the booth where Rain Chocolate and Yin Tan are prepared to comment a little bit about the ships that we see. That there's a lot of excitement over there, and there's a lot of excitement here as we go to this second match in a best of 3 between Vidra Reloaded and LAZERHAWKS Laserhawks here on Alliance Tournament 15.
Welcome back. I'm Rain, and I'm joined by Jin, and we are commentating Vidra Reloaded versus Laserhawks. So Vidra brought what we like to call the 8 Battlecruiser core all in at 30 with a double Vexer at 0 with Randolph Sykes saying, "Oh God," as he realizes he is sitting on top of 2 Vindicators. Jin, why don't you explain the Laserhawks team?
Laserhawks have brought, I think, what is the most Hail Mary of approaches we've seen so far in this Alliance tournament, bringing a double Vindicator, double Rook, Execura, double Pontifex, and triple Assault Frigate kind of setup. This seems like it was theory crafted on the back of a napkin, praying that this will beat Vidra's team. Let's see if they possibly can. Vidra bringing a worse version of the Octodad setup. Those bans by Laserhawks might prove crucial, taking out the 2 Brutix holes and the Harbinger Navy. Those are the 3 most tanky cores in that setup. So right here, what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and get those Vindicators into the backlines and use all those AFs, all those Ponties to just lock things down and get it dead as fast as possible.
Yeah, and with the Harbinger Navy issue ban and the double Brutix ban, those Rooks will have more focused ECM on them. Obviously, they're going to be having the Mimitar ones to jam out the double Hurricane, double Fleet Hurricane, and then the Amar one and potentially the Caldari one for the Harbinger and Ferox, respectively. We have 30 seconds until the match starts. What do you think is going to happen within the first 10 seconds, Jin? What do you think Laserhawks are going to do, and how do you think Vidra's going to react?
This is going to rely so heavily on that opening dice roll. Those first couple of jams on those Hurricanes, if they can lock out enough Hurricanes that they can't volley off those frigates right at the start of the match, it's going to give Laserhawks such a huge positioning advantage in this match. The real question is, can they kill stuff fast enough, and how fast does that Execura die?
Yeah, so we have the match starting, and we're going to see that control bar of Vidra immediately go up, and then Laserhawks slowly but surely going higher and higher as they attempt to throw jams.
The 2 Vexers there, Nico Noiser, Randolph Sykes, sacrificing themselves, going right onto those Vindicators and just scramming and webbing them down, stopping them from moving. Andor Hitter, crucially, not moving at all, literally not pressed a button. He might have disconnected. This might be absolutely tragic for Laserhawks.
I mean, that's a good point. However, they are seeming to apply to that. They are seeming to apply to those Vexers. Maybe he doesn't need to move. Maybe he realizes the fact that he's scrammed web and doesn't really need to go anywhere because he's just shooting those Vexers, and he has to get them down before his Execura falls.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that Execura is so low, bouncing between 20%, 30%, 10% now, just desperately trying to cling on with those rep bots. He's living to win for as long as humanly possible. 1 Vexer down of Randolph Sykes. Nick and Noiser shouldn't be far after that. The real question is Zorak going to go down? He's so low, but he's somehow living.
He's somehow living because all those jams from the Rooks across the Vidra team are completely locking them out of their damage. You can see that attack bar, as Elise and Maud were explaining earlier. It's so tiny. They have so much potential for damage, but their actual applied damage is just minuscule, which is why this Execura is living to win.
I thought gambling was illegal now in EVE Online, but Laserhawks winning on the RNG here as they push through another Vexer kill. That Execura going so low, but there's nothing Vidra can do about this.
No, I mean, if you're jammed, there's not much, like you said, there's not much you can do. They do have drones, so they could have applied those damage drones to the Execura, but I mean, that Inno and those double Vengeances could easily kill off drones if they're not defensive tackling.
Those Vindicators now untackled. They're going to be able to move right in there, and you can see the MWDs going straight on, hundreds of meters a second as they burn right towards that Fleet Hurricane core. How far have they managed to get away, really? How long is it going to take for these guys to get in? Zorak finally goes down in the Execura, but a lot of positioning has been traded for that.
Yeah, so this Fleet Hurricane already taken damage, as well as a second Hurricane. There seems to be tackle widespread from the Laserhawks team onto the Vidra team, and getting rid of that Execura, while is a good crucial step, they have to actually be able to bounce back from that, and being jammed from Laserhawks isn't really going to help them.
Yeah, kind of a misplay here from the Laserhawks team. They've not been able to put any rep drones on their Rook. It's been so low, it's in structure now as the rep drones land. That was not fast enough. Laserhawks need to be really crisp on their execution here, or they are not going to be able to take this one. Fleet Hurricane now in armor, going down.
Yeah, Laserhawks have to use these Vindicators to just immediately kill the Vidra team, especially before this second Rook dies. So I had mentioned that Vidra, while jammed, may be able to use damage drones, and it seems that's what they used to kill these Rooks. There was just a swarm of red bots from Rook to Rook, just demolishing them, even though they couldn't lock targets.
Yeah, it looks like Vidra Reloaded are taking the tempo advantage back here for a second. They might have everything scrammed, but they're going for those assault frigates, trying to break away their core so that they can spread out and get away from these Vindicators. They know if these Vindicators can get on top of things, they are going to melt. This is just so much damage. 90% webs. Nothing they can do.
And assault frigates are a good choice. They're obviously a little more points than just normal frigates, but they're very tanky, and they can obviously have tons of mids, tons of highs.
The tank isn't enough though. These the Enyo and the Vengeance going down there so quickly, like nothing was there. Maybe these Pontifexes can survive for a little longer. These Vindicators are still not in the best of position, not on top of everything. They're just on top of that one Fleet Hurricane. Everything else is slowly spreading away from them. they aren't able to keep the control down with these 3 AFs dead.
Yeah, I mean, losing the Executor and then the double Rook, it seemed that the match then snowballed for the Vidra team. I'm not quite sure how Laserhawks didn't manage to pull back from this. They seemed to be doing so well at the very beginning. The Vindicators were on top of the tackle for Vidra, and they were just pounding away. But now it looks like all they have are battleships left, and Vidra still has six battle cruisers.
Yeah, it looks like this was a great idea. Great execution right at the start, but they managed to just slipped away from them. Still, it's not over yet. There is the potential maybe for them to come back. These 2 Vindicators could pull off a miracle, but it is so far away here.
Yeah, I was going to say they're taking lots and lots of damage. They seem to be on top of the Harbinger piloted by Kai Kaisik, I believe is how you say his name, and they do have a web on him. They're tackling him down, but I don't think they can bounce back from this. They're taking so much damage, even though all of the Vidra team is spread out, and that's what a great benefit of these battle cruisers is. You don't have to be clumped together, or you don't have to be on top of your opponent like these Vindicators. You can spread out across the arena and shoot.
Yeah, and who cares if you can, take out 1 or 2 of those Hurricanes with one of your Vindicators. Those Vindicators are worth nearly double the points of any one of these T1BCs, and it just lets them bring so many threats. And that's what we saw with this comp. Laserhawks concentrating in on 2 massive threats, 2 control threats, and seeing if that can coast them to victory. But because of the crucial change in Vidra Reloaded comp versus the Hydra Reloaded original one, swapping out 2 Vexers for 2 Punishers, I think that has just made this comp even more dangerous.
Yeah, and so as we see the last Vindicator left for Laserhawks, Vidra winning it with Randolph Sykes, the original person who was freaking out by sitting on top of 2 Vindicators, saying good fight in local with his team following. And looks like Vindicator's gone. The victory goes to Vidra. They won the 2 out of the 3, so obvious victors. They haven't lost a match yet, whereas Laserhawks now falls into the elimination bracket. So while they did lose this match, the series best 2 out of 3, they do go to the elimination bracket, which I believe we see tomorrow. We will see tomorrow.
Yeah, and our real storyline going into that, as this final Vindicator of Kasich Cook drops down into structure, is can anything beat this Octodad comp? It's so powerful, and Hydra and Vidra, they seem to be the only people able to execute it well.
Yep, and with that, we'll send it back to the guys in the studio.
Can I ask you kind of a weird question?
Do you want to play some spaceships with me?
Vidra Reloaded will advance to the finals of Alliance Tournament 15 as LAZERHAWKS descend down into the elimination bracket, where they will face off against the winner of the best of 3 series that we'll see right now. We've got 1 match down already for Hydra. 1 win for Hydra. NC, one match down. That about to continue. Tell us about that. I believe it was called a Hail Mary composition. I heard you say they've won it. They've won it. The match started up.
I was absolutely sure they won it. I was like, this is perfect. You have the Vindicators and just a slew of tackle. It's a throwback to Alliance Tournament 10. We had 2 Vindicator cores and then just a bunch of support cores with it. I think the Vengeances were a bit of a misplay. If they played with the Vexers instead, that's more damage. Things can die faster. But we saw that it started so well for the Laserhawks team. They got tackle on 4 of the 8 BCs. They jammed out 3 of them. Their logistics lived forever. and then just the damage wasn't there.
They were unable to keep that Rook alive once the Executor went down, and I think that's where it started to snowball. As soon as they got those gems off the field, the BC Core was able to apply damage wherever they wanted to. Mob, what did you see happening?
It felt like a complete misplay from Laserhawks, honestly. It almost appeared from our end that the only viable explanation I had for those Vindicators not doing damage was maybe one of their pilots was overeager and burnt their guns out. I just don't see any reason why 2 Vindicators on top of battle cruisers were doing such anemic damage to them. Really, Laserhawks, going in with the bands of Brutix Navy Issue and Harbinger Navy Issue, should have been able to stack mostly Minmatar jams or Kaldari jams, knowing that those Brutixes and Harbingers were less of a threat. So those Rooks should have been well stacked. I'm really eager to see what those kill mails indicated.
Yeah, it will be interesting to bring that up once we can. We don't have the capacity to show that up on the screen right now, but certainly it kind of bears wondering, like what were they doing? What was happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the damage, just, as Mod was saying, it just wasn't there. I really would have loved to have seen just a few tweaks. Obviously, these pilots don't have that much time to come up with a counter. They probably practice this through the week. Say, okay, this is what we'll do. But I mean, you're talking about taking Ishkur instead of an Enyo. You got more applied damage with the drones. You take the Vexers instead of the Vengeances. You got the same durable tackle, but more damage from drones. So more damage, things die faster. You know, with those trades go in your favor, then maybe you can snowball to your advantage. I don't know, but really good idea from the Laserhawks. I think that definitely is one of the plays to counter that 8 BC core. Well,
we'll see if they have a second chance to bring it when they face off against the winner of our other best of 3 match happening right now. That's Northern Coalition versus Hydra Reloaded, and we will move into that match almost immediately after we see the stats from the previous match. Can we get those up on the screen just to take a look at what those ships did? You do see... I mean, you see damage coming off of the Vindicators, but maybe not in the... 4,000. That's just... No, that's the Pontifex. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the
44,000, 48,000 coming off the Vindicators.
Compare the 17,000 damage done by Nika Norzer's Vexer to the 4,000 damage done by King Tut Tut Badass, great name, his Vengeance. You know, they're the same points. They do the same thing, more or less. Talking about an extra 20,000 damage almost per ship, 15,000 per ship. There you go, 30,000 damage, and the Laserhawks wins. Like, just, it's that simple.
Once again, Laserhawks choosing really to go for the Pontifexes, and we can see that they've done no damage returned, and what that stat means is how much damage they actually output. So they're using a ship that's essentially more points than a Vexer. While it can apply links, I'd like to see them maybe choose something like a single battlecruiser instead of the Pontifexes that, while they have a drone damage bonus, they were being used for repair bots to sustain that Executor who lived, to his credit, forever. But I just don't like seeing Pontifexes do no damage. It's 12 points, not doing a lot of anything.
Yeah.
It's certainly an interesting choice, one we've seen a couple times not really paying off. We'll see how that plays out as teams develop, I guess not answers, but as they change their comps as we move through the rest of the tournament. Of course, that's Vidra moving directly into the finals. They will appear at 1700 Eve time tomorrow in the first of those matches with a 1-match lead already.
Yeah, it's a best of 5, and they've got one match in hand. In the last few Alliance tournaments, we've actually seen the team from the elimination bracket still win that best of 5 series, but you know, it's a nice position you're at when you're in the winner's bracket. You just go crack your knuckles, you know, put your feet up on the desk.
And of course, you get to relax for the rest of today and all morning.
Yeah.
Leading up to the finals.
Now you get some lunch, eat your Wheaties, and then you're sure to victory. Do they have Wheaties in Russia? They gotta have Wheaties, right?
They have something akin to Wheaties. Yeah. Gruel, perhaps. That's not. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the average breakfast is in Russia. I'm not implying that anybody enjoys gruel. Or that you shouldn't enjoy gruel if you're into it. What we have coming up here is
non-gruel related talks.
Yeah, I'm going to move away from the gruel and back to the matches that we're seeing in the second best of 3 match. The elimination bracket, Northern Coalition Dot versus Hydra Reloaded. We have bans in for this second match, and I'll give them to you gentlemen here at the table. The bans coming from Northern Coalition are the Harbinger Navy issue, the Ferox, and the Brutix Navy issue. The bans coming from Hydra Reloaded are the Vigilant, the Curse, and the Atana.
That's cool. Kind of new.
It's a different set. I do see. I mean, those battle cruisers again getting a lot of attention. Interesting that they went for the Harbinger and the Brutix here. We've seen the Brutix before, and the Harbinger does quite a lot of damage. So they're Northern Coalition not really eager to see that core, but maybe they've got answers for the others. What about Hydra, Vigilant, Curse, Atana? Mod?
So the Atana ban, I think, is really good from Hydra. So in their series against Penna's Out, one of the things that Elise and I were discussing kind of when we were in the break room was that had Penna's Out had an Atana, they very likely had a chance of winning. Penna's Out was probably a good 15 seconds from, had their Basilisk survived just a little bit longer, they would have won. Now, banning out the Atana requires them to bring a Basilisk if they want to bring a Tinker. Bringing a Curse, banning the Curse allows things like Shield Fly Killer, that long-range artillery and light missile damage setup to not be countered by tracking disruption or missile disruption. And the Vigilant's just a good, I don't want to be held down by a cheap ship that has a lot of tank and will just completely lock you out of the fight.
Pretty strategic move then.
Yeah, I mean, in the last match, or in the first match between them, it was very, very close. Hydra almost lost because of that curse. The NC Dot team kind of read the Hydra team a little bit, brought a curse, which totally countered what they wanted to do. But props to Hydra. They managed to catch that curse somehow, kill it. BAP 1811, one of the better pilots on the NC Dot team. We've seen him just manually pilot incredibly well, position himself just perfectly. And this match, just something slipped. He got caught by a Vexor, died, and then that match went right in the Hydra's favor. So this is a great ban from Hydra. They're saying, I don't like this ship. It almost screwed me over. Screw you. Take something else.
Yeah.
Mod?
Yeah, NC Dot is showing really actually a pretty good use of E-War. So those Vectors that we saw in the last match were almost certainly using tracking disruption, trying to prevent Hydra from projecting damage. So we're seeing, especially this late in the tournament, teams show an exemplary understanding of E-War spreads, and they're doing well with it.
Well, we'll see how these teams can do. They are taking the field now. We're not quite ready to go over to the booth. I'm getting the nod from Rain. She's saying, wait. Couple announcements to remind everyone. Tomorrow, CCP Falcon will be here on stream to talk to us a little bit about some stuff that's going on, possibly some news about the CSM or about the community in general. Falcon, of course, just a really nice guy to have around in general, just knows a ton about EVE, a ton about the lore, a ton about the tech, and a ton about what we're doing here at CCP behind the scenes. So do tune in tomorrow to see him here on the desk. A reminder that if you have a prediction about the match or just want to let us know which team you like the name of better, you can express that feeling at react.eveonline.com. Open up another tab in your browser and start clicking for the team that you prefer. I don't know if you get to vote more than once. I imagine not. I imagine we have that locked down, right?
I mean, probably.
You can't spam. That's linked to
You
your
can
IP.
try, though. I mean,
give it a go.
Push all the buttons. Welcome to the internet.
Twitch chat, I want you all to click on the one that you like the most. Just Twitch. Just click. Just make it happen. Our matches are delayed today on account of a technical difficulty earlier, so we are running about 40 minutes late. You are tuned in to Alliance Tournament 15 here on CCP's channel on Twitch. And we are ready to go to the next match here. Hydra Reloaded versus NC Dot, the second in their best of three. Really quick before we go, prediction?
NC Dot with a Revisu.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, the Dino doesn't like the fact that NC Dot blew up the test Cape Star. So I'm going to have to go with the Dino and go Hydra.
We've split the desk and we will go to Rain Chocolate and Yintan in the booth for this match here in Alliance Tournament 15.
Hello once again, you wonderful people, for what could potentially be the last match of this evening, with Northern Coalition Dot going up against Hydra Reloaded in the losers bracket, an elimination match. And what Hydra Reloaded have brought is something we've seen from them before. A triple rook setup with that Chameleon standing in as the third rook, bringing alongside it the standard Guardian, Prophecy, double Sacrilege, Pontifex, and double Vexor as their support core, with the main focus of that being the huge control brought by a Chameleon and double rook. What have NC Dot brought?
So NC Dot had brought their flagship Balgorn, piloted by the captain, DHB Wildcat. So it's going to have about approximately, potentially 70-kilometer webs. They've brought the Rubisu, the T2 Logistics Cruiser, piloted by Kraylor. It's obviously was the AT prize ship last year. Then they have the Double Fleet Hurricane, Double Brutix for damage, the Vexor for tackle, the Purifier Hound, and Punisher.
Yeah, what we're going to see right at the start of this match is if that Balgorn gets jammed out and if he can potentially get anything on that Guardian to start with, this is going to be a real roll of the dice here right at the start to see how much can they get done. We know how this triple rook setup operates. You have to sit there, you play defensively, you wait for those jams on the Logi, and then you attack, you go in, you kill a squishy target, you pull back. And also what we need to watch for is what those Sacrileges and the single Pontifex do. Those are the heavy tackle that Hydra Reloaded needs to use to lock down all of the threats that NC Dot has. And NC Dot has a lot of them. Double Brutix and Double Fleet Hurricane.
Yeah, so we have 8 seconds left on the clock. Obviously, that Balgorn warped in at 0, whereas the Hydra team warped in all at 50. So that Guardian should be within its web range, although those Sacrileges will play defensively and have to prevent that Balgorn from going in, and the Guardian's going to have to try and stay alive as best he can. And we see immediate damage on that Chameleon as jams are spread all across the NC Dot team.
Yeah, just trying to test the tank there, I think, and we're also seeing rep bots immediately on the Guardian to try and make sure it can't get an instantly headshot. But look at how small that attack bar is from NC Dot. They have been locked out of this game from the very beginning of it.
And one thing to note is this Balgorn, as he's flying in, is attempting to smart bomb the damage drones from the Hydra team. So obviously the Double Rook and Chameleon can use drones, and that's going to be any sort of DPS they can apply.
Yeah, I hope we can get a view on that Balgorn, because he's going right for that Guardian. If he can get on top of him, he might be able to smart bomb off the drones, but no, he's been caught there. I can't see quite what by. Looks like one of the Vexors has caught him, in fact. Oh, Purifier down. Zordan being deleted almost immediately as soon as Hydra Reloaded focus on him. Damage coming out from all angles on Hydra Reloaded, and Northern Coalition unable to do anything about it.
I was going to say, all of Hydra is obviously armor tanked, and they're still sitting pretty in their shields because Northern Coalition cannot just apply any damage. This Hound is going down very quickly, but it looks like he's catching reps from the Rubisu as well as that Punisher, which is providing heavy tackle.
Yeah, that DPS is going to be so crucial because those are things that it's harder. They can't spare the jams to lock them out. The more things die on NC Dot's team, the easier it's going to be to lock them out of this game.
And it looks like the Balgorn obviously had the jams drop. We saw those newts in the web.
Brutix of Sharp CG going into low armor here. Can that Rubisu potentially get unjammed? If he can, he might be able to live, but it's so close.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, the jams are no longer on the Rubisu, so he is able to immediately apply reps. However, armor reps cycle at the end, so you can see him just barely hanging on. He has to cycle it very quickly, manage his heat, and that Brutix is going to try and live to win from the Hydra team.
Yeah, Kraylor Darkalong there, just putting amazing work in, saving that Brutix with barely a moment to spare. It looks like damage is going onto the Sacrilege of Sutonia, trying to slowly grind him down, but there's not much that NC Dot can do right now. They're just waiting for a good roll. Maybe this Balgorn will get unjammed, and maybe they can do some damage to that Guardian.
And so we can see with the E-War effects, obviously there are jams from the 3 jam ships, but then there are also tracking disruptors. So even if these Fleet Hurricanes do get unjammed, they're not going to be able to apply their damage as well as they should with those tracking disruptors. And we can see Hydra still sitting pretty in shield. In fact, their Logi isn't even repping anything. He just has rep bots on him. He has not taken really any chance to try and even rep Sutonia or anyone else. And this Brutix lived to win. He's obviously sitting back at full armor. The Rubisu may or may not, it doesn't look like he's jammed anymore, but he's trying to keep that Brutix alive as best he can, even though there's just a sliver of hull left.
There's practically nothing left there for Sharp's SCG, just hopes, dreams, and his armor. And it looks like BAP181 has been able to burst into the back lines whilst the Brutix is taking huge damage here. There's not much left on him, just rep drones there being the effects. He's going to go down, and that's another main threat dropped there from NC Dot. They've got so little to work with now. It's going to take an absolute miracle for them to pull this one back, I think.
Yeah, this Guardian's just sitting pretty on the Hydra team. The Rubisu is being jammed, but he's not being primaried in any way, shape, or form. We have the Balgorn attempting to actually newt out that Chameleon. Obviously, the jam's dropping on him, and he's applying newts and NOS on the Chameleon to try and break his capacitor.
Yeah, and we know something about the Force Recons is that they actually do have quite a vulnerable capacitor. It's why we could potentially see Curse bans there from Hydra Reloaded, because the Curse would be amazing at shutting these things down. But still, it remains to be seen if any jams will stop being applied by Hydra.
Yeah, and we see actually DHB Wildcat in the Battleground actually look like Smart Bomb his own rep bots off of him as he is being heavy tackled by this Prophecy
It
piloted
looks like
by
he's
Nick.
got webs on the Guardian as well. This could be big.
I just saw the webs drop. He must have gotten jammed. He must be struggling as hard as he can to try and break these jams. Hydra clearly obviously bringing racial spec jams because of the way they're able to apply their ECM on the Northern Coalition
Vexor
team.
of G-Funk going down there. Looks like the Rabisu just got locked on him. No, that's just rep drones. Pretty much nothing there. The only thing that's keeping him alive is his SIG tank. The Hydra Reloaded team lacks a lot of damage. We might see the Balgorn of DHB survive, but honestly, I don't think it's enough. Northern Coalition needs to kill something big if they're going to have any chance of winning this on a points victory.
Yeah, and Hydra needs to continue to kill and pick away at the NC team. I was going to say, just because they have the control, if they get an unlucky jam and suddenly both those Fleet Hurricanes or that Brutix are able to lock, then their team's not going to be able to live very long. So they have to be able to pick apart this Northern Coalition team. They have to be able to make effective use of getting these jams off.
Yeah, you can see that the attack bar bouncing back and forth as individual parts of NC.'s comp locked out and then come back online. Here we can see a decent amount of damage starting to be applied. That means that the Brutixes, maybe one of the Fleet Hurricanes, are gonna be okay, gonna be able to lock things. You can see a little bit more damage being put on the Sacrilege of Suetonia there, but they're not even breaking shields at this point. What are they shooting?
I mean, I don't know if they can actually shoot anything. If you look, even the Balgorn is perma-jammed. That control bar is very minimal. At best, they're able to get a scram off. And the Balgorn is just, I mean, it's a flagship Balgorn. It should be able to web up to 70 kilometers, and it can't even lock a target. So this is just a control war, and Hydra is clearly winning.
Yeah, it actually looks like Northern Coalition making the choice to just shoot drones. We can see the smart bomb of DHB Wildcat still going off, still desperately trying to clear things. But we see occasional drops of these light armor maintenance bots. So that's a clever play from NC. Trying to get this Guardian down. If they kill that and they don't lose anything else, they will be on even points. And then we'll go into reverse tie-dye. And that is going to play hell with Hydra Reloaded's ability to cycle their jammers.
Yeah, and I was going to say, speaking of that smart bomb, it looks like, I want to say DHB actually got some drones out and he's attempting
DHB's unjammed. He's got webs and newts on that Guardian.
He did, and it looks... there's still a newt there. I don't know if that's just finishing its cycle and that's the effect, but it looked like he initially put out ECM drones and then smart bombed them off himself. I'm not quite sure where they're trying to use... I think this is just like a game of drones,
Vexor
game
of
of control.
G-Funk disappearing there. His armor going down and his structure as well being wiped off the face of the earth. That means that now not only did NC. need to kill that logistics, they need to kill something else as well. Things are getting grimmer and grimmer here for NC. It's a slow thing. Hydra Reloaded is pulling the wings off flies here.
I wouldn't call it that, but making effective use of ECM is a very clear tactic, and a lot of teams just rely blindly on ECM. They'll say, we'll use ECM drones, we'll bring some Griffins or some Kitsunes, but you have to be able to predict your team and bring the right racial jammers and be able to make effective use of jams across the board, and you can't only rely on that, as we see Hydra still using those tracking disruptors, still using those sacrileges as heavy tackle.
Yeah, they've just locked down every threat on the Northern Coalition team. The real question right now I have is, can Hydra Reloaded pick up an expensive hit kill here? Picking off the Rabisu, an alliance tournament, a unique, there's only 50 of those in the game. Less than that now that we've seen a few of them blow up. That thing is probably worth 200 plus billion ISK at this point. It's so expensive of a ship. If it goes down, that's going to be a nice, shiny thing for us all.
I mean, as you mentioned that, the Rabisu is actually taking damage. He's clearly webbed and scrammed, not being able to move about the field very quickly. So maybe Hydra are attempting to go for him, trying to kill him killing a Rabisu, then the team can no longer use it. Rabisus are expensive, they're hard to come by, and obviously I believe saw 3 die already, so there's only 47 left in the game.
Yeah, just 2 minutes left on the clock here. No rep effects on that Rabisu at all. Looks like all of Northern Coalition Dot's rep drones have been destroyed in this match already. Just little to no utility left on the NC Dot side, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, losing those drones, having them picked off slowly, obviously they're...
Half armor.
The Rabisu should have a local rep, which we won't be able to see with the E-War effects, but he should be able to rep himself locally, which is independent of his own jams. But it doesn't look like it is. He's dropping really into low armor.
He's getting up a little bit, but maybe he used his charges somewhere else. Maybe he didn't even reload his ansel. Something's gone horribly, horribly wrong here for that Rabisu. He's dipping into structure.
He is. He's
200
going to
billion
die.
ISK in structure, about to go down here to the Hydra Reloaded team. And there we go. Hydra Reloaded picking up another AT kill here, picking up another one of those unique kills. 200 bill on their kill board, and the match almost definitely in the bag here for Hydra. There is no way NC Dot can come back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know there is a lot of smack talk in local as we have DHB Wildcat and members of the Hydra team as former friends split off because of Alliance tournament issues, and obviously they're clearly exchanging words instead of bullets on the field.
Well, the words are the only thing NC Dot can throw at Hydra Reloaded at this point.
So the Battleground's not able to lock. He's locked down the Chameleon, webbing him and nuding him. It looks like he still has it, the full control bar for the Northern Coalition team immediately being filled once that Battleground had those ECM effects drop.
Look at that damage, actually. It's so strong. This is what NC Dot were hoping for maybe 3 or 4 minutes ago, when they still had all of that damage left on the
We do have 20 seconds left, and they are primarying the Battleground. They're going to attempt to kill the flagship Battleground. Obviously, if it lives and NC Dot drops out of the Alliance tournament, then they'll be okay. But we have 15 seconds left, and it is in about half armor.
I don't think he's going to die, but man, they're going to make NC Dot sweat for every moment of this. You know, nothing but salt in local from the NC Dot side. And honestly, I can't blame them. I'd be salty too if I was jammed out for this long in a match.
So I'm looking at the Chameleon description. It says some Capsuleers claim that ECM is dishonorable and unfair. Jam those ones first and kill them last. And that's exactly what Hydra Reloaded did. They won the series best 2 out of 3, and they will continue on in the Alliance Tournament 15.
Yeah, and that sends, and with that, we'll send it back to the studio to break down this amazing match here. A real nail biter, even though NC Dot did, at the end of the day, lose it.
My brother gets off work at 4 o'clock and we're coming down here to kick some mother.
And Hydra Reloaded knocks out NC Dot. They will proceed in this bracket. Hydra up to face LAZER, AJ, WKS, Laserhawks, who had just lost to Hydra Reloaded. That match will commence at 1500 Eve time tomorrow. And that is the last match leading up to the finals, where the winner will face off against Hydra Reloaded. Amazing. So much money on the field. So much money. The Chameleon was there, the Rabisu was there, that flagship was there, which stayed there.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the one of the priciest matches we saw. We did see Hydra and NC Dot face off earlier, and there were 2 Rabisus, both of which died, and a Flaghorn. So that was number 1. This has got to be number 2 in terms of money on the field.
Yeah, lots of bling going up in flames. Moderator, tell us what you saw.
We saw both Laserhawks and NC Dot go up in flames. I'd like to thank both Hydra and Hydra for catching us up by ending those matches as quickly as they did. So, I mean, if you're Laserhawks, good job for getting to where you were. They are going to be at the very worst in 3rd place, as we know, as we only have 3 teams left. But they really have to step up their game. They had some good ideas, some good concepts, but their kind of execution was a little bit lackluster. And if your execution is lackluster going up against Hydra tomorrow, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Fortunately for them, they have an entire day to prepare to get ready for all of that. Elise?
I mean, if I'm gonna coach Laserhawks here, buy a Vexor. It's a great ship. It helps you. You'll win matches with the Vexer. But that match between NC Dot and Hydra was got to be really frustrating. I got to give this one to Blue Melon. I'm sure he read exactly what NC Dot saw. NC Dot read Blue Melon the first match. This time, Blue Melon got it back. He said, I'm going to let you take this Flaghorn Rabisu setup, but I'm going to bring so many jammers and they're going to be all skewed, and you're just not going to be able to lock anything. And that's what we saw. Couldn't lock a dang thing, and that poor Flaghorn just couldn't do anything.
Whenever you saw the jams come off, whenever a jam failed, and you saw that control bar just immediately light up green, you could tell he was just like, come on, come on, come on, come on. And then it hit, and you'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
And then one cycle later, it would go right back to being
So
flag.
the worst part is I'm sure NC knew that this was going to happen, and they probably brought remote sensor boosters on the Vexer and the bombers, and all the utility may just shove remote sensor boosters in there and say, okay, put all the remote sensor boosters on the Balgorn, and we're good. Unfortunately, those ships died really fast or got jammed out. So they couldn't even put the remote sensor boosters on, which is usually what you do to counter the jams.
Yeah, unable to ameliorate that E-War. And we talk about ECM. We talk about, there's ways to counter it. There's ways to get around it. There are. And if you don't have one, you're in trouble.
It's grim as heck. And, Rain touched on it a little bit. When you kind of can read what your team is bringing, and, when you have a one-game advantage, which Hydra did in the series, you can take a gamble. You can say, I'm just going to guess that these people are going to take a lot of Amar, and I'm going to maybe one or two Minotaur. So I'm just going to stack all of my jammers to Amar and ban out that jam out that Flagbell, jam out that Rabisu, which has got Amar sensor strength. So, Radar wins.
It certainly does. Any final thoughts before we end for the day here? Again, one more time before I kick it over to you, moderator. A reminder that tomorrow we'll be kicking off at 1500 Eve time with help me out one more time, Hydra versus LAZERHAWKS. That match, a best of three, will be played consecutively. So each match for the first half of the day will be those two teams going up against one another to see who goes to the finals to face off against Vidra Reloaded. That's set to commence at 1700 Eve time, and Vidra already one matchup having commenced through the undefeated bracket to get there. With that schedule in mind, just some final notes for the day, moderator?
Sad Tuskers aren't part of it, but it's been an excellent tournament throughout. Again, thanks to everyone for flying us out here and giving us an opportunity to cast for all of you wonderful people watching at home.
Elise?
I hope more stuff goes boom.
More stuff is bound to go boom when we return tomorrow here on Alliance Tournament 15. Until then, on behalf of our team in the booth, Yin Tan and Rain Chocolate, and the boys at the desk here, moderator and Elise Randolph, as well as everyone in the control room and the volunteers, and all of you watching at home, I am CCP Antiquarian, and this is Alliance Tournament 15.